Part 294. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2943. Not enough words to speculate. The battle between the two started quietly without even the onlookers having time to react. Logically speaking, even if one is an injured intermediate star, it is still an intermediate star, while the other one is only the peak of the venerable. Only a discerning person can tell who wins and who loses at a glance. However, the Black God gave so many impressions to the many demon sects present during the last support battle that they all looked solemnly and only looked at this person's fighting movements. But no one would think that their mid-level star would be defeated. This is impossible. It just depends on how many seconds the Black God at the top of the venerable can sustain it. Under the different mentality of the spectators, the unscrupulous power of the two exploded in one place. Black God Jia Yan's eyes were blazing. Even if he is not creating the world, his clone's strength is definitely not as weak as imagined. On the contrary, because he cannot get continuous mental support from his real body in the created world, his brainwave power will be depleted and reduced, so his combat effectiveness cannot last long. But the situation is different now. After coming to the normal galaxy, although the power of the Black God does not have the power to create the law in the world, it can still use the continuous energy from Jia Yan's true body, and in other words, at least in terms of brainwave power, he is almost no different from endless energy. The two cancel each other out. At least the Black God in the Milky Way is neither stronger nor weaker than the Black God in the created world. They are almost the same. In the world of creation, he had fought against the elementary level stars, and even fought against the white dolphins who had temporarily reached the intermediate level of stars. Not to mention that after entering the outside world, Jia Yan's body and mental power surged to a level that even he could not fathom. This kind of strength is the real reason why he dares to use the Black God clone to fight against the stellar class. Poof. The two started to attack first, a direct collision in the starry sky without any tricks. This is the most basic technique to test your respective strength. Direct force confrontation. However, it was obvious that after Jia Yan had a direct confrontation with the opponent, he retreated violently, while the opponent remained motionless. It's normal. Not only does his Black God clone look like he is at the peak of his strength, but he is also too small. Even if he reaches the astral level, he must be able to collide head-on with an ordinary-sized astral level. Possibly seize the opportunity. As expected, it is a very difficult venerable level. This result caused the other party's face to become more solemn. After all, how could others not understand the disadvantages that Jia Yan himself knew? In the eyes of his opponents, this Black God clone should have suffered an even worse defeat. It would even be normal to end the battle with one hit. Don't be surprised. If I don't even have this ability, I probably wouldn't dare challenge a star-level powerhouse. That's true, I despised you, but I will not despise you anymore. Instead, I will treat you as a star-level powerhouse of the same level as me. Be careful. The middle-level star existence on the opposite side had a change of expression, and his heart was as calm as water. He has already accepted the scene where the Black God clone helped him defeat the enemy, and it doesn't matter if he accepts that the Black God clone's strength is similar to his own. There are quite a few top geniuses in the Jianghu star territory. It is still possible for some powerful supreme geniuses to be able to compete with the elementary level stars in 1 or 2 moves. The two sides entered into a formal battle with equal potential. No mercy. The brainwave powers are also competing in mid-air. Speaking of brainwave power, Jia Yan is not afraid of anyone now. Just as a small part of the mental power that he had not had time to fully digest was about to dissipate due to the inability to gather it, Jia Yan just happened to transfer it to the Black God's clone, letting him use it as waste, so he could not fight against the enemy in front of him. Even if it is consumed like this, I'm afraid it won't consume much. The spiritual power that the Black God clone can extract is only at the peak of the Venerable at all times, so how much can it consume? The aggressive opponent pursued Kurakami, who was gradually losing ground. The physical attack was resisted by the Black God's clone, like a tiny flea resisting the human attack. In the vacuum of the galaxy, sound cannot be transmitted, but there is a rhythmic popping sound that echoes in the minds of onlookers. This is the sound of physical combat energy, which exceeds that of the fine particles of vacuum. After all, a vacuum is said to be a vacuum, but in fact it contains very, very rare matter. It is through them that heat is transferred in the universe. In addition to the physical confrontation, the battle with brainwave power made the people around them a little confused. The battle between the two sides seemed to be a one-sided defeat for Black God, but he could barely resist it physically. Unexpectedly, in terms of brainwave power, after the initial battle was evenly divided, his brainwave power gradually became stronger. We must firmly suppress the star-level powerhouses who have suppressed the demon sect. Finally, after the shockwave of a sudden explosion was heard, the two separated. What kind of brainwave power do you have? The other party's face was already serious. Even a little confused. If we talk about the attack power of the brainwave power, it is just that. Although it seems to be stronger than the peak of the Venerable, it does not look like it has reached the stellar level. But it was nothing more than once or twice. After the two sides continued to use their brainwave power to blast dozens of times, he found that the intensity of the other party's brainwave power had always been maintained at its peak state, and now everyone could detect it. To the weirdness of Black God's brainwave power. Sorry, I won't reveal my fighting skills to others, Jia Yan said calmly. The other party immediately understood that he had asked a stupid question. It is impossible for a strong man to reveal his trump card to others, otherwise he would be digging his own grave. But this kind of trump card is too unreasonable, right? Unlimited brainwave power. As he continued to fight, his brainwave power declined rapidly. After dozens of collisions, even though he still had brainwave power around the primary level of a star at first, it was now almost beyond his reach. Although he had the upper hand physically, if the brainwave power failed, he would definitely not be able to escape the overall defeat. Are you still fighting? Or do you admit defeat? Jia Yan asked cheerfully. Damn it, our great elder hasn't even said he's defeated yet, you think he's going to lose? That's right, depending on the situation, our eldest brother is probably stronger. It's just nonsense. The demon sect disciple behind the star class immediately quit his job, and after hearing the words, he made an uproar with hurtful words. But Jia Yan understood them. If his elders lost to a strong person who was one level weaker, he would not be happy if it were him. That's all, I just admit defeat. Lord Black God, you have won, but have you thought about it? After winning, you want me to find other stars to compete with you. The other party finally smiled bitterly and stopped the others from shouting. He didn't think he would lose, but he would definitely not be able to get any benefits if he continued to fight. Instead of that, it would be better to admit defeat. After all, the opponent's strength had indeed reached the level of a star. The purpose of him and others is not to have a fight of will, but to prevent him from running wild in the demon sect's territory as a venerable. Now that he has the combat power of the first level of the star, he has begun to have the ability to run wild. Of course, I'm sure. Also, my friend, do you think I tried my best just now? I'm not afraid of saying hurtful words. If I hadn't worried about you being hurt, I would have won a long time ago. You are not ashamed of your words. As soon as Black God Jia Yan finished speaking, a disciple who was filled with righteous indignation jumped up and wanted to swallow Jia Yan in one gulp. With this disciple's master-level strength and a body about half a kilometer long, it would not be enough to swallow an earthling who is over 1.7 meters tall, even through the gap between his teeth. But he didn't dare, because he couldn't beat the Earthlings who were more than 1.7 meters tall. I see, do you still have room for your excellency? On the other hand, the star-level demon gate suddenly felt something, and looked at the black god Jia Yan with uncertain eyes. No wonder he felt that the little creature on the opposite side was hiding something during the vague confrontation just now. So there really is mercy? This discovery shocked and frightened him. No matter how you fight, the opponent is just the peak of the venerable. From the perspective of the genes of living things and the senses of a strong person, he is also the peak of the venerable. But it is definitely not an ordinary peak of the venerable. I have never seen any venerable peak who can still be merciful when facing an injured mid-level star, because even if he is injured, he still has the strength of about the first-level star. Ah. Okay then, I will arrange your opponents for you, but I don't guarantee that everyone will be willing to come. I can only say that I will do my best. Are you willing to agree to this? Okay, as long as you do it for me, I won't blame you for whatever happens next. Black God Jiayan Yun Danfan Qingdao. After saying that, he fell towards a huge planet in front of him amidst the anxiety of all the demon disciples. This planet is naturally one of the planets on the outer edge of this magic gate. Although the garrison strength is not bad, the strong man is just a primary star existence. I just felt the battle between the two sides in the starry sky from a distance, and got the voice transmission from the middle-level strongman from the demon sect who led the team immediately understood Jia Yan's identity and did nothing to stop him. However, he also did not greet him, but silently watched Jia Yan fall into the planet he was guarding. Your Excellency, I allow you to stay on the planet I control recently, but please do not cause damage, otherwise I will not be able to do it. After a long time, he sent a message to Jia Yan. Black God Jia Yan changed his expression, and responded with a joking smile, I am a person who understands etiquette, and naturally I will not do such nasty things that hurt the weak, but, my friend, you seem to be a perseverant star, how about we try our skills? He really wanted to fight against a star-level powerhouse to measure his recent fighting skills. There's no need for this. I'm only at the elementary level of a star. Since you can even defeat the great elder of that sect, I'm naturally no match for you. It won't be embarrassing. It's boring. Jia Yan felt helpless when he saw him admitting defeat without caring about his identity. After thinking about it, I found a piece of barren mountains and ridges. I didn't bother to disturb the cities and so-called mortals on this planet, and just immersed myself in the barren mountains and ridges. Not long after, the trees in the mountain forest flew up, and a small wooden house was automatically built in the middle of the forest. Jia Yan, the black god in black, walked into the small wooden house with a graceful step, and moved many of the colorful flowers and trees around to the tree. Next to the house, it creates a wonderful scenery that can only be seen in film and television works. The mountain is not high, as long as there are immortals, there will be spirits. He smiled to himself, quickly opened the door of the cabin, entered, and began to wait. At the same time, within the Demon Gate star territory in this starry sky, waves were quickly caused by his arrival. It is said to be a star field, but the momentum of the demon sect in the Jianghu star territory has gradually weakened, and it has been divided into 12 demon sect factions. Now this faction is even more suppressed, and it only controls more than 70 stars in total. There are living planets that share several star systems. Therefore, the changes on the border quickly spread throughout the entire demon sect. Good fellow, there are outsiders occupying the border star of our 12 branches of the demon sect? How audacious! However, this person first rescued my demon sect's out-of-town work team, and then sent people back to the demon section. He said he wanted to occupy the border star and he did not cause any damage. His purpose was just to challenge the powerful. If so, I think this person is still worth getting to know. I also agree with this point of view, but this person is a bit domineering. In this case, our demon sect will follow his wishes and arrange a trial with the star level to compete with him. According to what the elder of the sect said, this person's life breath is extremely young. He is a rare young talent. Wouldn't it be great if he could be impressed and become the future leader of my demon sect? This is absolutely true. Let's do it like this. You organize the stellar geniuses. Don't bully others too much at first. Just go to some elementary level stellar ones. If they really have that ability, send in the mid-level stellar ones. Okay. Let the 11th devil of our sect come and learn his clever tricks. Among the demon sect, there is a person with the status of demon son. It's not just a position, but a variety of positions, but those who can obtain the status of a demon are all talented people at this level of strength. However, this demon sect has been reduced to this, and within the faction, it is composed of many demon sects, so the star levels of each sect are actually not many. For example, the demon sect that just spoke out is said to be the number 1 faction. The reason for the 10 devils is actually that there are only 11 stars in their sect, and the 11th one is the junior star in the faction. He is just young, so it is just right for him to be sent out to deal with the challenge of the foreign genius. Within the starry sky. Without letting Jia Yan wait for long, his first opponent was sent from within the demon sect. Haha, this brother, it is said that there are extremely terrifying geniuses in the star field, and there are even super geniuses who can challenge star level strength with venerable level strength. I didn't believe it at first, but your appearance, I can't help but not believe it. However, can you let me verify whether you are the super genius I imagined? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2944. Outside the planet, there was an explosion of shouts. As a result, the entire planet was shaken directly, countless houses shook, and life forms howled. After a while, in the woods where Jia Yan's black god clone was hidden, a small figure rose up. How come you're at the elementary level of a star? That's all. I just want you to see it. I believe that the next one will be at the intermediate level of a star. The black god clone raised his eyebrows, flying upward with piercing eyes. His arm was like a hook, and a hooked finger stood up and struck directly at the first level star named Xiao. No need to say hello, I'll beat you directly so that I can save time and let you go back and call for help. Black God Jia Yan has an unusual kingly temperament in his actions, just like the aloof king or a god, indifferent to the entire world. Pretend to follow me? You're just a venerable, let's see how I defeat your moves. The eyes of those stars that were several kilometers in size suddenly fell into a state of rage. The strong men in the galaxy have always adhered to the extremely stable mentality of the strong being supreme. There are strong men in small realms who can make comebacks or kill enemies by leapfrogging, but the gap in large realms is like a ravine. It is completely impossible for anyone to be able to do so. Kill the enemy by leapfrogging. The peak venerable in front of him seemed to be only a small level away from him, but this gap was between the venerable and the star level, and the half-star level in between. He could regard the other person's talent as extraordinary and skip it. But even so, it's still a level I don't know how many levels behind it. So he was a little angry when he was looked down upon so much. At the same time, in the surrounding starry sky, the powerful men from all over the place who had come back to their senses were quickly directed to this area by all eyes. Although I can't say that the confrontation between two strong men will definitely be exciting, it won't be bad at all. Many people looked forward to it. Even if one blow determines the outcome, it's a good opportunity to learn from. Although they are at odds with those who come to kick the mountain gate, it does not mean that the inside of the magic gate is made of iron. Sometimes it is necessary to observe one's own strength, which is also quite useful. After thinking about it, Jia Yan had already arrived in front of the opponent's head, and the two sides were completely incomparable. After the war started, the fight between these two people did not have much to do with their size. It can be said to be a joy to watch. In this universe, power is the only truth. In the final analysis, nothing can be separated from power. If you don't have enough power, you will be crushed to death by me. In the flash of lightning between the two sides, they roughly tried out each other's details, and finally figured out each other's strengths. To be honest, the coming star-level powerhouse was still a little bit shocking. Because it deserves its reputation. It is obvious that he is only a strong man at the peak of the supreme being, but it is too unbelievable that the guy named Black God can really compete with his majestic star at the beginning level. Jia Yan was seen holding a hook and claw posture, and there was a strange power being released between his palms. Is it? Not only was he not uneasy, he was actually made to laugh by the other person's words. If power is king, then I should win. Although the clone is not at the peak of the venerable, the power of the real body is not easy to crush such a mere star level. The two of them passed each other again, and Jia Yan's two hook-shaped fingers tore a small crack in the other's huge body. Although it was only a minor injury, even for a huge monster, this kind of injury was not even an injury. It was like a human being accidentally pricked by a needle, or a superficial injury. But it was enough to arouse the other party's surprise. He was actually injured first. This scene caused the opponent's murderous intention to become even more intense, and the power of the tiger and the wind directly accompanied his actions and interspersed around Jia Yan's body. It wasn't that he didn't want to hit Jia Yan, but that Jia Yan was silently avoiding the strong man's attack. It seemed that he didn't use much strength, but the opponent's earth-shattering power just couldn't hit him accurately. Physically. Not only was the star initially stunned at this scene, but the onlookers around him were also dumbstruck. A flea? You. The strong man from the Seeing elementary demon sect looked extremely ugly and couldn't help but shout and curse. You just have to come and see for yourself whether it's a flea or not. At this point, Jia Yan finally found the opportunity, and he finally became familiar with the hook-like method he had used in his hands. Now, he is using this Black God clone to test certain combat techniques. Otherwise, he might be able to defeat a primary star within 10 moves. I saw that the forward and reverse power of his palms was spreading, and a ring shape was drawn between the palms. Later, the ring shape was cut from the center. The power of the ring suddenly became explosive. Moreover, the power of the explosion was locked in the enemy's position. Jia Yan, standing in front of the explosion point, did not suffer any damage from the shock wave at all. An unbearable scene appeared. The giant monster wearing magic sect equipment was washed away by the sudden shock wave of positive and negative forces. His arrogance seemed to be extinguished. Not only was the previous attack in vain, but he also quickly gave up the offensive. All the brainwave power is devoted to defense. The rumbling sound of particle collisions resounded even in the vacuum of the universe. The first-level Star Warrior was shocked by this force and was thrown out. Huge injuries were visible to the naked eye on the front of his arm, and the shape was extremely terrifying. For a time, both of the spectators became worried. Although that first-level star powerhouse may not necessarily be the demon son of their demon sect, this demon realm has always been united under the pressure of the righteous sections. If it loses a star-level combat power, it can be said that it will be even more affected. For the huge pressure. Who are you anyway? The monster's complexion alternately turned green and white, and it resisted Jia Yan's follow-up attacks with its left and right arms. You have the heart to admit defeat, but you also think it would be embarrassing to lose like this. Rather than admit defeat, he is determined not to win in the current situation. Don't you know my name yet? I am the Black God. Jia Yangxing did not change his name or surname. It's just that the real name is hidden. Black God, oh, that's it, I give up. This person saw the give and take between Jia Yan's moves and clearly did not intend to take his own life, so he gave up the fight helplessly. The person who comes next time will definitely not be a junior star. You should be prepared before leaving." He took a deep look at this magical peak figure of the Venerable. The glances all around were full of surprise and a little fear. Those who can come to observe this battle are either stellar level or venerable level. It can be said that before coming, none of them believed that Jia Yan could win this battle. But now, they only take it for granted that he won. It wasn't until Jia Yan looked back at these eyes teasingly that they looked back angrily, while Jia Yan himself flew back to the planet without causing any trouble. But the star's primary powerhouse on the planet was even more fearful and bitter towards Jia Yan. It would be impossible for anyone to feel at ease if such a character who could defeat him lived on the planet where he was sitting for a long time. What exactly is the principle behind that move? The power he used did not exceed the level of the Venerable from the beginning to the end, but the last move directly exceeded the level of the Venerable. The power of the explosion, I suspect, has reached the level of a stellar mid-level attack with all his strength. That's weird. Could it be a secret skill that is not passed down from a certain super family? Well, in short, think about the list of the next opponent. I don't know how long this guy will be ready to challenge in my starry sky. I hope he will be satisfied soon. Fortunately, at least he has no intention of hurting anyone. Even if he is 10, Ichimako is only slightly injured and will recover after a few years of training. Let's do this. Next time, send a mid-level star, but don't be too strong. If you accidentally hurt this guy, it may cause the forces behind him to take action. A force that can have such a move should not be underestimated. That's it. Jia Yan was on the planet this time and had to wait for a few days. At the same time, the star-level master on his side, who had not waited for his return, learned from the routine information exchange with the main body that another clone was fighting in the arena from a certain planet city to the Jianghu star territory. The competition went inside. Tisk tisk, this efficiency is even faster than mine, but my task here is not to meet with Wuzun, but to find a way to adapt to the strength of this body, and to assist the real body in researching new moves. The mission Haishan shoulders is naturally not something as trivial as fighting in the ring. When it comes to the arena at his level, although it cannot be said that there is no such thing, every star-level expert who goes to compete is a prominent figure in all forces. If he, a top venerable person, gets involved, he is definitely asking for trouble. Even Wuzun might test him. It's better to just find a magic gate to fight in the wild. Anyway, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white, as long as it can catch mice, it is a good cat. The black god Jia Yan was just calmly roaming the planet, but his name had already spread, and it wasn't a small message, but a name that spread far and wide. The last scene where he helped the demon sect faction he met on the road and repel the righteous people has been studied by many people. A person who is suspected of being a demon sect at the venerable level can actually intervene in a battle at the stellar level. This ability is not small. Many decent people also became slightly interested in him, and soon found out that this self-proclaimed black god was suspected to be a race within the Orion Arm not too far from the Northern Territory. As for which race it is specifically, it's hard to say. There are actually quite a few Earth-like races, especially within the Orion Arm, where the soil and water support one person. For example, Jia Yan's son Jiarong's wife is obviously a life form from the planet on the edge of the Orion Arm, but she looks like an Earthling. It looks like it was printed out of a mold. Many other races are similar. There is probably some kind of hidden life data supporting this situation. The people in the Northern Territory roughly figured out what happened with the Orion Arm, but then they were a little confused. The Orion Arm has been weak for too long. Even if it reopens the country in recent years and does business with the outside world, it will not be able to rise again in a short while. If it were not heard that the Orion Arm is inexplicably protected by a strong person suspected of being a domain lord, there have long been a large number of forces from the Northern Territory fighting the autumn wind that have gone to make a fortune. And why did such a sage-level genius suddenly appear who doesn't look very old at all? The venerable level that can compete with the stellar level is a bit too scary. Even if it enters the peak arena of venerables in the Jianghu star territory, not to mention the arena of young talents, even if it is the pinnacle of venerables in the Jianghu star territory. In the competition, I am afraid that he will be firmly in the top 5. This is still his strength that can compete with the primary level of stars. If he has stronger power, it will be even more terrifying. The first is not impossible. Tisk, tisk, such a genius comes out, and this person is from the Orion arm. It is said that a war is breaking out between the Bai family forces bordering our northern region. He is not afraid that the Bai family will send people to capture him. Don't you know? Your information is out of date. It is said that the Bai family has been defeated by the Orion arm. Now the Orion arm is in full swing. I also saw yesterday that the Orion arm sent several large merchant ships. They come to our Jianghu star territory to trade goods. How dare the Bai family touch them? Really or not? The Bai family has been defeated? Impossible. The strength of the Bai family is not weak at all. It seems that their new master is. Is he a senior domain master, or even many of our Jianghu star domain? Will the existence of a subspace talent that is feared by senior domain lords and powerful men be defeated? Of course it's true. I also found out that the young master of the Bai family was not only defeated, but also dead. The person who defeated him was none other than the evolved beast that was said to protect the Orion arm. Moreover, he was also the second. The space talent seems to be the more terrifying senior domain master of subspace. It's the subspace talent again. I really need to have a good chat with the master of our power. The subspace talent senior domain master means that within the senior domain master level, it is almost impossible for anyone to threaten them. It was precisely because of the new young master of the Bai family, otherwise we and other northern forces would have wanted to take advantage of their old master's departure. I didn't expect a more powerful one to come. On the outside, there is more intelligence. Jia Yan's name has come to Jianghu star territory. However, the price of being famous was that a lot of important information about Jia Yan was also passed on. Oh! That evolved beast made a life bet with the young master of the Bai family, and in the end he won a great victory and swallowed up everything that the young master of the Bai family had. There was an accident, so the Orion arm was in a panic, and the evolved beast seemed to be angry. It searched everywhere. There is evidence that it entered my northern territory. The dragon is crossing the river. I hope this angry man will never conflict with any of my bosses in the northern region. Otherwise, it will really be a big problem. Along with several clones of Jia Yan, they all made a name for themselves in the Jianghu star territory, and passed all kinds of information to the mind of Jia Yan's body deep in the subspace. He knew all the rumors and famous name of Jia Yan from the outside world. But Jia Yan's first reaction was not excitement, nor was he elated, but a little sullen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2945. Which bastard in Orion's arms leaked my information? Even ordinary strong men know it, so how could the martial master not know about it? If he guessed that I would come to Jianghu star territory, would he first dispose of the white dolphin's body? On Jia Yan's side, when he was feeling a little anxious, another piece of information came in, which made his real body look very excited. This is another piece of news from Jia Yan's clone. This avatar is still at the beginning level of the venerable, but it is quite easy to get around. He uses the tiger-like body of the black tiger at that time. It looks tall and powerful, and it can easily handle the female creatures in this area. It didn't take long to get a lot of information. But he didn't cheat. Yes and no. Regarding the doppelganger, can you tell me about cheating? In short, this clone managed to get a first-hand intelligence source from both sides. That white dolphin clone hasn't been handed over to Wu Zun yet. Very good. Jia Yan immediately became energetic. The originally nervous demeanor became sober under the stimulation of waiting for the great news. As long as it does not fall into the hands of this person, he will not be able to hold the emperor's hand to control the princes, or use the white dolphin's body as a shield. The location is about 3 days subspace journey away. But what's difficult is that that area already belongs to the central hinterland of the Jianghu Star territory. Not only is Wu Zun personally in charge, but there are also a large number of defense and detection facilities. It's hard to die. Because the Bai family's territory is not far from here, and there is a strong man who can travel back and forth in the 10-dimensional subspace, so they have enhanced their detection of the subspace. In other words, if Jia Yan wanted to go there in person, it would be impossible for him to do so without being noticed. That's right, if the senior domain lord's lair could be broken through so easily, I don't know how many senior domain lords in the galaxy would die in vain. Jia Yan was silent for a long time. In the end, he decided to put aside the mess, and regardless of the situation of the clone gradually opening up, he decided to go to the land of Martial Lord himself. It makes no sense that I am still timid when my goal is right in front of me. Edisha, try not to alarm the other party. See if you can do it with your technological capabilities. Of course, if you can't do it, I won't blame you. Do your best to know destiny. Okay, Edisha takes the order. The huge palace that reached thousands of kilometers moved its position in the subspace, heading towards the most prosperous place in the Jianghu Star territory. Following the actions of his real body, the activity level of Jia Yan's clones changed rapidly and became a little quieter. Earth aspect. Jia, I have to leave, because I have made an appointment with the patriarch of my family. For the first time, Satsamakan chose to leave while Jia Yan's clone was still there. Not only her, but Jia's parents, her sister's family, and her son's family who greeted Jia Yan's clone this time all went to do their work after a hurried visit. Everyone has his own life. After all, no matter how important Jia Yan is, others have other people's lives. It doesn't mean that just because you control everyone's life and death, you can enjoy everything others have as a matter of course. Jia Yan didn't feel uncomfortable at all, but after seeing his wife away, it was also his working hours. This time he is preparing to change the indolent and indolent nature of the people on Earth. It's best to make a complete change once and for all. He had never thought that his family was busy with so much work, and he was afraid that it might be related to the reforms he had been promoting since he came back. But it doesn't matter. For Jia Yan, he is now at the pinnacle of influence in terms of prestige and strength. Therefore, there is resistance to advancing these things, but not too much. At least it cannot be said to be completely impossible. Sir Jia Yan, the leader of the entertainment industry and the president of several major entertainment industries today, would like to meet you. Let him come. Jia Yan also met with many leaders who hindered his reform. For example, the so-called leading boss of the entertainment industry he met this time. This is a pot-bellied man who looks like he is in his 50s or 60s, but Jia Yan feels it and he really looks like he is in his 50s or 60s. In other words, he is from the prosperous age after he helped the Earth regain its life. Born human. This is not very good, because they have not personally experienced Jia Yan's greatness and ability, and they are often suspected of being arrogant. Lord Jia Yan, I grew up hearing your name. That person looked at least a little uneasy, and after sitting down, he only dared to sit halfway up his buttocks. Okay, no need to say more polite words, just talk about how to cooperate with the reform. Jia Yan stopped him from talking. It's like this. We our leading industries in the entertainment industry actually have their own concerns about the excessive entertainment today and have long wanted to make reforms. However, things like human nature cannot be changed in a short while. After all, people need spiritual relief, so we have already made a plan, but this plan will take a little longer than what Mr. Jia Yan said. A little longer? How long exactly? Well, it will take about 30 years to reduce the share of today's entertainment industry to about 70%. It can be reduced to 50% in 80 years. It will be impossible to reduce it after that. Hearing this, Jia Yan was neither sad nor happy. He just looked at him and asked, "Besides these, do you have any other specific opinions?" It's like this. If the entertainment industry is reduced, the future employment of a large number of employees in the entertainment industry will be a major problem facing the entire society. So we have another report here, which is to directly reduce the number of employees in the entertainment industry to some parts of the industry should be split into other industries because we are familiar with the staff under us and can facilitate work arrangements. However, this requires support from the government. The specific content is also clearly written in the report. Several reports were placed on the table by the pot-bellied man. Jia Yan stretched out his hand, and the report on the table flew into his hand automatically, and he translated it lightly. Translation is like turning the pages of a book, as fast as lightning. Not long after, he put down all the documents in his hand with an expressionless expression, and turned his gaze back to the pot-bellied man. There was no sign of joy or sorrow, but his eyes were like sharp arrows, piercing the opponent's whole body and making him feel restless. "Sir, have you finished reading? What do you think, Gu?" "After reading it, it's not that good." Jia Yan shook his head in disappointment. No matter what, the man's expression changed immediately. Before he could say anything else, Jia Yan had already stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window of the office. This is the government office in Huiwai City where his home is located. It was the tallest building a few decades ago. Even now, it is still the ceiling in a 200-story building. It stands out from the crowd and the scenery is extremely beautiful. Do you know how much sweat I spent trying to bring the earth back to life? How many people on earth have sacrificed their lives and blood for this goal?" He spoke softly, and with the sound of his words, the whole world vaguely returned to the tragic environment where wars were raging and people were displaced. The pot-bellied man trembled all over. He is a human being born after that. Although he watches documentaries every day and has a large number of popular New World movies, he is familiar with countless martyrs, and many of the heroic deeds that happened in that era are catchy. However, if you don't experience it personally, then you are missing a lot. It is impossible for you to make him feel the same way. It's only been a few decades, just a few decades. Jia Yan shook his head and sighed, always feeling that things were strange. In a few decades, most of that generation may still be alive. After all, with the help of today's genetic sequence drugs, it is normal for everyone to live over 100 years old. It is rumored that the average lifespan of people on Earth is now estimated to reach. They have reached an astonishing age of more than 170 years. Are those people living abnormally? But the soul of the entire civilization is still lost. Master Jia Yan, I understand what you mean, but people always have to keep pace with the times. The pot-bellied man gritted his teeth, bowed and lowered his head. Jia Yan slowly turned back and looked at him coldly. Frightened by Jia Yan's gaze, the man was sweating profusely, with large drops of sweat rolling down his forehead, but his intention to bow did not change in any way. "You guys, just for your own sake, I won't kill you," Jia Yan smiled. "Don't dare." The pot-bellied man's knees weakened and he almost fell down on his knees, but Mr. Jia Yan, times have really changed. The older generation really can't look at us now with the same eyes as before. Coveting for pleasure is not something against human ethics in the first place. Because this is human nature. As long as we are human, we will want to live a better and better life. For example, now, human beings live longer, and technology has advanced tremendously. You can buy all-round intelligent robots at home at a very cheap price, which can help with almost all tasks such as cooking, boiling water, cleaning, etc. Has this improved human life quality? Yes, Jia Yandu admitted that if he could have such a life as a human being, he would just lie down and do nothing. You might even agree with this idea. But if you are not in your position, you will not seek your government. The but determines the head. He is no longer an ordinary human college student, but a being who can easily decide the life, death, and direction of progress for all mankind with just one word. He doesn't want to be a sinner in history. Times have changed, what a convenient term, haha. Jia Yan finally smiled, but this smile was a bit cold. Beer. According to the report, Jia Yan threw it on the table with a crisp sound, followed by Jia Yan's expressionless words. Regardless of time and place, the entertainment industry should be free of excessiveness and hollowness. Today is the first time you meet me, but it is also the last time. I will only give you the opportunity once. I hope you will take care of yourself. Take it with you. Sir Jia Yan, people have to have a spirit of entertainment. Do you just want to see a society that looks like robots? Sir. The fat man with a big belly looked extremely ugly and wanted to say something, but he was dragged out of the door by the man in black in the office. This hat is on. Jia Yan felt that he was committing atrocities. But just because there are people like this, or this should be a common mentality, my reputation will not be so good soon. At least within a few years or 10, I will be somewhat alienated from the entire earth, right? Jia Yan understands other people's principles. But wouldn't the people on earth understand Jia Yan's principles? In fact, as long as they are not mentally ill, probably most people can think clearly. Not to mention the many examples of civilizations in the starry sky, just talking about the Chinese kingdom on earth and the history of the rise and fall of so many dynasties is the best evidence. In an era of drunkenness and dreams, especially in an environment where there are lurking beasts all around, if we engage in national entertainment, it will be the end of waiting for death. But no one wants to wake up. Life is so good. Who wants to wake up? It's useless to understand the truth. It is an issue that will harm everyone's current interests. There is an absolute majority who oppose this proposal. Just like the so-called female boxing movement that was once very popular on Earth, women suddenly rose up from the oppressed era and enjoyed a lot of dividends. Then they got out of control and turned into asking for benefits without any limit. Squeeze men. In fact, in their hearts, don't they understand that this kind of thing cannot last for a long time? They should all understand, but they enjoy a lot of benefits. For an entire era or two, as long as they are born with the right gender, they can enjoy endless dividends. In that case, even if they are in their hearts, are they willing to wake up? Then, the metal crisis broke out. Because the male population was in the most dangerous situation and was the protector, the population deficit was extremely serious. The gender dividend seemed to have returned to its original point, and even became worse. To this day, the metal crisis has passed, and Jia Yan has reversed the future of people all over the earth, allowing them to live a good life again. But because the life of the people on earth has improved, the males on earth have gradually discovered that they can have better choices, such as alien men who can combine with earth people and have better genes. As a result, earth women once again feel the emptiness in their hearts. It is said that they can also find alien men, but due to welfare and other factors, the situation has developed to this day, and finding an earth man has become a master in the eyes of women, causing their own status to return to the original, that kind of low level. This is probably the final outcome of self-deception. From Jia Yan's point of view, if the people on Earth still only think that as long as they are protected by the giant Mosquito family, they will have peace of mind in the future, it will be difficult for them to make major changes, and they will only be greedy for pleasure. Well, if you ask me to just let them go and make them suffer some hardship, for example, if the Earth is invaded by some race and awaken their sense of crisis, I can't do it. Besides, the current Earth, in the center of the entire Orion Arm, wants to invading the Earth would be equivalent to capturing the entire Orion Arm. I cannot sit back and watch, because the entire Orion Arm defense system was built by me. It would be very tiring to rebuild it. Jia Yan was speechless as he thought about it. This is a hole you have dug for yourself, and you can't get out if you fall in it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2946. So I have no choice. I will be scolded when I am scolded. I believe it won't be too long. I will copy some of Ming's martial arts development experience everywhere, and then publicize the rules of martial arts in the entire Orion Arm. From now on, as long as the people on Earth have a taste of the sweetness, you will gradually become more stable and accustomed to it. Jia Yan waved his hand and firmly set the tone. It is impossible for him to explain the truth with sincerity, understand it rationally, and be moved by emotion. He does not have the time, nor the energy, nor is it boring. In his life, there is nothing but force. If you don't accept it, convince it. Of course, Jia Yan himself thinks that he has no other virtues, but in the eyes of others, this may not be the case. He just doesn't know it. As for the Earth, the whole situation seems to be on the same level. Not only the people on Earth are affected, but also many alien enterprises and institutions here are shaken by huge changes. Lord Jia Yan, there is an alien consulate here to ask for an audience. Announce their presence. Yes. Soon, some tall aliens appeared, some were extremely ferocious, some were elegant, some were old gods, and some had the same appearance as Earthlings. These people have become guests of Jia Yan's temporary office. Master Jia Yan, we all understand what you are saying. To be honest, as veterans, we have also persuaded the people on Earth to change their course of action, but the people on Earth have become so superior that they don't pay attention to your advice and have even become hostile, right? Jia Yan took it and took a sip of the fragrant tea. It smelled fragrant and was even more refreshing to drink. The person on the other side was speechless. After organizing the conversation for a long time, he didn't know how to continue because he didn't know Jia Yan's views on this matter. It can be said that the status of Earthlings was given by Jia Yan. And when they persuade the people on Earth, they do have an attitude of old-timers. Although their intentions are good, they will inevitably make the people on Earth feel uncomfortable. Now he is afraid that Jia Yan will ignore their good intentions and have unpleasant thoughts. You don't have to worry. Speak freely. Besides, the mentality of the people on Earth is indeed wrong. I'm already working on modifying their ideas. The several alien beings sitting across from him secretly let out a sigh of relief. Lord Jia Yan, if nothing else, our planet has experienced a situation similar to that of the people on Earth, but it was not as serious. If we appreciate the scholars and suggestions from our planet, we are willing to organize people to help. Very well, let your planet send people to the Earth, and I will have Earth-related workers contact them. Lord Jia Yan, I have here a set of forward paths that our planet originally planned. We named them the Strong Man's Plan. Each stage goal is measured in hundreds of years. If you are interested, we are willing to share it. This is also very good. I'll read it when I have time, but I think everyone who comes to see me is not just asking for advice, so I can tell you what you want. Jia Yan revealed the secret with one word. Many alien diplomats and those stationed in the office looked at each other in disbelief, thinking that this man was truly a strong man and could understand people's hearts. Haha, We seem to be full of truth, but the purpose of coming here is still for profit, and we are a little embarrassed to face Master Jia Yan. Several people found that they had placed their status very high just now, but now they were still talking about interests, and their words did not match the words behind them. So it's embarrassing. Everything in the world is for profit, so don't worry about it. I know the purpose of your coming. Anyway, tell me your demands and I'll see if I can handle it. Jia Yan smiled broadly and seemed to have no grudge at all. From any point of view, he would not have any grudges, because the purpose of the other party's coming was just to keep the petty profits of those on the earth. In addition, they had shown goodwill to Jia Yan first, so how could he have any intention to them? Difficulty. Say so. But when they left, looking at the faces of these messengers, I knew that things might not be as simple as Jia Yan promised. Jia Yan only promised to protect their interests as much as possible, but did not say that it would be business as usual. When people on Earth have to cut back on something, it is simply impossible for them to maintain the original level of benefits. This is how the reform affairs in full swing began. But it was difficult for Jia Yan to supervise such a vast reform because he was prepared to deal with problems from the Northern Territory. To put it bluntly, his current influence, whether on Earth, in the Orion Arm, or in the star fields surrounding the Orion Arm, is all due to his own strength. Is the so-called isolation area ahead, Edisha? Are you confident? Yes, but Edisha needs to calculate it carefully. Brother Master, please wait a moment. Editha was in the center of the palace, smiling, running with her fingers flying, as if running something that even Jia Yan couldn't see. This is exactly how the entire palace operates. It didn't take long, and on the other side of the subspace, some kind of matter stuck in front of me, like a shackle, vaguely disappeared. Brother Master, Edisha is ready, but the other party should know about this kind of movement. I just don't know if they will come over to investigate right away. We should leave quickly. Well, then pass. The palace was like a gigantic planet in the subspace. The entire palace went to war, causing a large number of ripples in the subspace, triggering bursts of shock waves, which seemed mighty but full of tranquility, passing through the area in front of it. Jia Yan used his subspace talent to look at the areas outside the subspace. At the same time, around this area, several figures who seemed to be the first-level strength of the Venerable had been waiting for a long time. It was not until they witnessed the huge affairs in the subspace flying into the central area of Jianghu star territory that they nodded. The head flies away. They are just some of Jia Yan's clones. What's going on here? Jing Hong soon arrived from the distant horizon. A creature riding a strong aircraft came from millions of kilometers away. As soon as it arrived, its eyes looked inside the subspace. Humph, something suddenly went wrong with the subspace detection defense mechanism just now. I'm afraid a foreign enemy is coming. I want to investigate this matter. This strong man was the one at the top of the Venerable. After wandering around for a long time, his eyes directly locked onto a certain creature that was still furtively sizing up the area. That man, come here. What happened just now? Did you notice it? With a move of his palm, the guy who was suspected to have the initial strength of the Venerable was directly grasped by his big hand with spiritual power and carried to the front of his body. Sir, I just felt a ripple inside the subspace, and I don't know anything else. The creature at the beginning of the Venerable level felt very aggrieved, and seemed to have no clue about the inquiry of this powerful man who had reached the peak of the Venerable. *span /u003 You are lying. There was clearly a huge wave passing through just now. You were so close, how could you not notice it? Tell me, are you related to that wave? Speaking of this, the being who was grasped by the powerful person at the top of the Venerable suddenly looked at the top of the Venerable with no expression on his face. Why do you show such an expression? The man also looked green and white for a while, and then suddenly panicked, Why can you break free, I, I, ah, within the stars? The few junior beings around him had no intention of taking action. Everyone knows that even though it is a beginning level of venerable versus a peak level venerable, there is no reason for that person to lose. Because they are basically the same person, they are just clones of that person. Okay, after dealing with this person, no one will hold us accountable for the time being. The clones scattered again. They did not arrive at this area originally, because of Jia Yan's sudden change of direction. In order to cooperate with the passage of Jia Yan's body, these clones worked tirelessly to rush here one by one, and explored the best place to enter, and also ensured the temporary confidentiality work. The place in the center of Jianghu Starfield. Jia Yan didn't know if this powerful martial master had ever been to the galaxy's central star territory, but he was very sure that the so-called Jianghu Star Territory Central had some similarities with the galaxy's central star territory, although of course it was smaller in scale. More than 10,000 times. However, this is still the elite place of the entire Jianghu Star Territory. A large number of strong people have lived here for a long time, and a large number of geniuses have been trained here. I see. This is the real reason why Jianghu Starfield has an absolute center. In the secondary space, Jia Yan learned about the information about the central place in the entire Jianghu Starfield after reading all kinds of internet information stolen by Edisha. A large number of strong players and young talents from the outside world have been recruited here without any oppression. On the contrary, the central land will be extremely exaggerated in cultivating them, and they must do their best compared to ordinary forces outside. Hundreds of times, this also means that all outsiders, as long as you have talent and ability, you will get treatment beyond expectations. They will be grateful and have a sense of belonging. They will also be grateful to Jianghu Central Star Region when they leave in the future. He regards the Central Star Region as his second hometown and tries his best to support his selfish interests. Over time, the prestige of the Central Star Region will also increase. With Wu Zun and a large number of powerful people who have moved to the Central Star Region sitting in command, the sacred status of this place will be firmly established in Diaotai. It's full of useful information. I can copy these things from the earth. I'll build a place like a holy land in the future. Jia Yan picked up a pen, wrote and drew, and recorded the new information he got in his little notebook. Brother Master, can you feel the energy? There are so many terrifying powers. Editha felt the power of the outside world and trembled a little. She is only at the beginning of the venerable level. With her current strength, when she comes to the outside world, she is basically a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. She can still show off her power in the created world. When she comes to the outside world, she is like a little fish that suddenly jumped from a small lake to the sea. She is basically a lamb. A new world. Don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, these powers aren't that bad. Jia Yan was stunned and couldn't help bragging. He has also seen the changes in Editha. Now she can also perceive the power of the outside world and express her worries. This is completely different from the previous mechanism that only relied on the brain to judge, and it is more flesh and blood. Very satisfied. Let me feel it. The central area of Jianghu Starfield is actually very small. It was so small that Jia Yan saw a few lonely Earth-like planets when he entered the subspace of this area, and the main star was just one, covering a large area. Less than a year later, there is another star system in the distance. In such a cramped place, for Jia Yan, as soon as the brainwave power spreads, he can feel almost most of the powerful presence here. At least the domain master level can feel it. Well, there are about 10 domain lords. Good guy, this is still a place in the Jianghu Star Territory. It seems that the strength of the Jianghu Star Territory's publicity to the outside world is still hidden. The plan is very big. Jia Yan was quite surprised. But he doesn't care about the territory lord level. Although to this day, he dare not say whether he will be in danger if he has dealt with a large number of ordinary territory lords, but at least he can't defeat them. He can still escape. If you use the escape and hit method that exists in the last space talent, then the opponent will be the one crying. You can't escape, you hit yourself and then run away. It will definitely be very sour. What he cares about is the so-called martial master. Oh, this is interesting. Suddenly, after Jia Yan realized it for a moment, he was slightly startled and soon smiled. The giant mosquito walked slowly in the subspace, walked out of the palace, and flew towards the outside world. Rivers and Lakes Starfield. This is a starfield where everyone is extremely fanatic. Yes, it's fanaticism. A large number of arenas, competitions, feuds, and all kinds of grudges are unfolding in this area all the time. If there was a map that showed the ratio of wars and confrontations within the star territory, then the Jianghu Star Territory would definitely be one of the top-ranked star territories in the entire Northern Territory. Otherwise, the prosperity of the starfield would not have been maintained for such a long time. However, under the prosperity, there are all kinds of pathological uneasiness. Hey, friend over there, your weapons are very nice. I think they are made by Wuzong. Can you lend them to me to read? Damn it, you want to see mine, can't I see yours? Show me yours first, and then show you mine. Bah, you are so shameless, let me teach you a lesson. A friend wants to have a chat again. Come and watch the fun. No need to watch the fun, you guy, I seem to have hatred against you. When we get on the ring, you and I will also become one of the focuses. Just go up, who is afraid of whom? If in other places in the Jianghu Star Territory, except for the arena, the general population is relatively peaceful, then in the center of the Jianghu Star Territory, they are dominated by madness. Countless strong men started fighting here because they didn't like it. What is very strange is that there are not many cases where the fighting ends with corpses lying on the spot. Because Jianghu Starfield wants them to increase their overall strength, but it doesn't want them to be bloody. So there are referees and the like who often interrupt serious battles involving casualties. After blocking the situation, the enemies will not continue to fight, but will step down from the stage knowing the rules. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2947. This was also of great help to Jia Yan. Anyway, with a sense of reverence, after listening to Edish's words, he picked up the small notebook at his feet and copied hard. Quite rewarding. And for him, this matter is definitely not something to be ashamed of. For the major forces in the entire galaxy, borrowing from each other and plagiarizing is what everyone is doing. It is nothing more than the major forces that have copied and developed, and will start to develop new forces that are still in the plagiarism stage. Ridicule and the like, in fact, they are just worried that the plagiarizing forces may catch up with them, and replace them with weak forces that do not plagiarize to see if they will say something, so these are nothing more than the suppression of the small forces by the big forces. That's all. Jia Yan had a great time copying it. Brother Master, there is an incident over there. Do you want to pay attention to it? While Aditha was processing the huge network data, she suddenly opened her eyes, which seemed to contain a trace of ripples, reflecting the figure of Jia Yan's giant mosquito. Oh! There is an incident. The incident you mentioned must be something helpful to me, so let's take a look. Jia Yan nodded with interest. Edisha connected the power lens over there to Jia Yan's brain. These shots were obtained after Edisha cracked the network protection in this area and connected a large number of cameras here to her own brain. Therefore, for her, except for the extremely strict high-level cameras, other cameras, she can all share it and leave it to Jia Yan to observe. The picture Jia Yan saw was something from an auction house. Let's take care of the rest, we have to carry out the most critical auction process. In the auction house where the transaction was taking place, the host changed his painting style while talking. The people present were a little scornful. They were all powerful men above the venerable level, and even the astral level was the main force. What kind of storms had they not seen before? So they regarded everything the host said as farts, just to attract their attention and increase the price of another auction item. Jia Yan was not dissatisfied, because he knew that Adisha would not deliberately access such a camera for him to see. There must be some purpose. The next auction item comes from the distant starry sky. The host was very mysterious and spoke in an ups and downs, and seemed to have gradually gained the focus of the audience. After everyone was attracted by his slow words, the host was afraid of causing public anger and said calmly, "It comes from the distant place of Bai family's influence. Everyone in the Bai family knows it, right? It's in our northern region. There is a bordering force on the edge, and the strongest among them is the current young master of the Bai family, and he is also the only senior domain lord level powerhouse in the Bai family. So what if you know?" Haha, you hosts, one or two, often say these mysterious words during the auction, which makes us emotional. As a result, the auction items sent out are just like that. Why don't you just say it now and move forward? It's so big. Is it some kind of special product from the Bai family? Haha, the brother above, I think you really understand the nature of the auction house. I can't stand these guys either. I want to tear down their auction house. Everyone was talking about it, but most of them were ridiculing the host. Because they couldn't believe that this host might come up with something good. Jia Yan's eyes also looked at the changes in the scene indifferently, but compared with the attitudes of those guests, his own attitude was more solemn. Haha, everyone may think that I have ruined everyone's fun by bringing up the matter about the Bai family, but of course I will not make fun of everyone's unhappiness, so I will say something to make everyone happy. The host was very able to grasp the emotions of the powerful people in the room. He smiled and said, "As we all know, in our northern territory, we have had several small-scale battles with the Bai family. It's hard to say who will win and who will lose. In short, the Bai family is still a respectable opponent. Maybe there are people in the field who will win. Some of them have personally fought on the battlefield of the Bai family, or some of their relatives and friends have fought on the border of the Bai family, so we naturally value the Bai family very highly. However, what if I say today that the Bai family's ringworm can be said to have been completely eliminated?" People in the audience were talking a lot. In fact, someone has received information that the Bai family was on the other side of the border, dealing with the Orion army. As a result, a strange battle to create the world resulted in a disastrous defeat. No one knows the details, but it does not prevent them from knowing the current situation. The Bai family was in trouble, and all the major forces in the Northern Territory were ready to take action. But what does this have to do with their auction this time? The Jianghu Star territory is said to be close to the Bai family's territory, but there is still a large Star territory force in the middle. Presumably, even if there is any action, the Jianghu Star territory will not rush to the front line so impatiently. Haha, you don't need to speculate anymore. This auction has nothing to do with the battle situation over there. The host said with a pleasant smile. When people calmed down, he was shocked again, but, in our auction, there is something that is related to the Bai family's important affairs, that is, the head of the white dolphin, the head of the Bai family. Boom. Everyone in the audience was speechless. Such earth-shattering news should have shocked everyone, but they were completely silent. The impact was too great. Just now I was saying that this auction has nothing to do with the war between the Bai family and the Bai family. Let me just say that the head of the Bai family is here. There is a big relationship at all, okay? You mean, the head of the current head of the Bai family is in your hands? Did I hear that right? Yes, it's him. How is it possible that he is dead? He is a subspace talent. Even if he dies in battle, his head cannot be in your hands. The host looked at the speaker lightly and saw that the other person was a domain lord level existence, and a flying smile appeared on the monster's face. There are rules in the industry. How we got this person's head, we can't say. You should also know our rules, so, I will only talk about this matter. As for what you think, it is up to you to guess. Jia Yan's giant mosquito body was in the center of the palace inside the subspace. After hearing the above words, his entire compound eyes were filled with light. As expected, it was about the body of the white dolphin. He didn't know how Atissa got the information, but he believed that Atissa was right. Master, brother, do we want to go there? Atissa swung her little feet, flew onto Jia Yan's giant mosquito front feet, and sat down on a joint. Compared to the terrifying giant mosquito that is 30 kilometers in size, the small human body is as small as hair. She can find a place to sleep on a joint. Since there is news about white dolphins, we naturally want to go and see them. Jia Yan smiled. Aditha opened her 5 palms and saw an invisible thread-like object in the sky, which she controlled. Soon the extremely huge palace began to fly away in a certain direction. The movement speed in the subspace is extremely fast, but starting and stopping the palace is very troublesome. Although it is close, it still takes a certain amount of time to reach it. At the same time, there was an auction place. When the host gave a faint command, the huge black wall behind him fell, and a pure white dolphin-like head bloomed in front of everyone's eyes. For a moment, all the strong men present began to breathe rapidly. It turned out to be true. This auction house is really smart and has produced such amazing auction items. The young master of the Bai family is right. I have met him once. I never expected that the dignified and senior domain master would die here. If the news of his death reaches the border, I'm afraid those forces will be unable to sit still and go straight into the Bai family's hinterland. Hey, the Bai family is not that simple. If it were so easy to kill, the Bai family wouldn't have existed for so many years. I don't care about the interests of the Bai family now. I just want to get the head of this white dolphin. Who wouldn't want to get it? The head of a senior domain lord is definitely a good thing that will allow me and other ordinary domain lords to take a step further. Even if the senior domain master gets it, it might be of great benefit, but I don't know, will our auction now attract, Master Wuzun? Suddenly, someone mentioned this issue, and everyone suddenly fell silent, and then their eyes became strange. That's right, the physical body of a senior domain lord is still a bit of a waste for the domain master, and maybe they can't fully digest the benefits. The head of a white dolphin is the most suitable for a senior domain master, and it is impossible for Lord Wu not to be interested in it. Suddenly someone burst out laughing and said sarcastically, "You are all thinking too much. You are so surprised. Since the starry sky in the center of the rivers and lakes can put this person's head up for auction, it means that they have already known about martial arts. Please respect me, otherwise it would not be our turn." Yes, yes, I have thought too much. The domain lords immediately nodded. It makes sense. Regardless of whether it is true or not, to them, it just makes sense. It's a peaceful auction. If they can really get it at the auction, they can just go out and find a way to digest it. Whatever Wuzun says, they have a point. Haha, friends, don't be anxious. Saving the good food until the end is the most delicious. Now we have other items to buy. Believe me, the other items are also good. The host mastered the impatient attitude of the powerful people present very well, and instead deliberately acted tamely. The white dolphin's head was immediately shrouded in black fog, and everyone could no longer see its appearance. Damn, heartless. Although they were very anxious, apart from being aggrieved, they could only sit down and prepare to go through the process of other auction items. And some people's eyes lit up. This is deliberately giving them time to withdraw money. Immediately, they ordered around, and even took out their communicators openly, preparing to call people outside to send money. The head and body of a senior territory lord, not to mention anything else, just the hint of a breakthrough opportunity for a senior territory lord contained in it, is worthy of the strong men who are stuck at the peak level of territory lord flocking to it, even at the expense of all their fortunes. Seeing the treasures that were not bad, but were not at the same level as the heads of senior domain lords, were sent to the stage for bidding, everyone felt that there was an unknown fire burning blazingly. They wanted to speed up these processes, and there happened to be some domain lords with extremely strong financial abilities, so they obediently offered a large loan and competed for the auction items. Moreover, under the stimulation of super valuable treasures, bidders who did not want to compete for the white dolphin head became interested in it. Even if it was not worth that much money, they would often fight for it until it was too late to regret it afterwards. The whole bidding process can be said to be extremely exciting. The merchants are making a lot of money, and the customers are excited to see it. No matter what, those present have been warming up for so long and finally waited for the last and most anticipated product. With a move of the host's monster claw, the black curtain behind him spread out like a curtain, revealing the astonishing head behind it again. The momentum is like a rainbow. For a senior domain lord, even after death, his momentum is somewhat unbearable. Find the bookstore. If there are any heaven-level experts present, they will be directly impacted by the aura of the dead senior domain lord. They will either die on the spot or be left with a lifetime of haze in the future. It can be seen that the white dolphin head at this moment has an amazing influence. The auction that everyone has been waiting for is now on the market. I don't need to elaborate on the specific introduction of this product. Now I announce that the starting price for the head of the white dolphin is 2 orthodox star cores. As soon as these words came out, many of the powerful men below lost their words and exclaimed, "Not cheap, but too expensive. What is a star core? This is the core after the death of the planet, and what is needed is the orthodox star core, which means that artificially cultivated and manufactured ones will not be accepted at all. Don't try to fool the merchants with fakes. They are in this business and they definitely know a lot more than you. Even if you try to mislead the merchants with fakes, you won't be able to pass them by under their noses. This is too exaggerated. The star core is still orthodox. It is difficult to find 2 star cores in our entire force. 2, but it's still a good deal to exchange 2 star cores for the head of a white dolphin. In this case, I'll go to the master of our power to borrow some money. After working for them for so long, I'll finally be rewarded." The powerful men were a little overwhelmed by the asking price of the white dolphin head, and they all made a fuss and contacted the sponsors or power leaders behind them. Things like star cores, whether they are on the frontiers of the galaxy or in the central star field of the galaxy, are high-end items, and they are considered first-rate treasures wherever they go. Moreover, even if a domain lord level being obtains star cores, they will immediately use them to make breakthroughs or exchange money. As a result, it is rare for any force to have any inventory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2948. With prices remaining high, the price of star cores on the black market has skyrocketed. But, the price depends on what it compares to. Compared to the head of a senior domain lord? That would be too cheap. If someone uses 2 star cores to earn the head of a senior domain lord, then it can only be said that this guy is lucky. After all, no one would have thought that 2 star cores could push a domain lord to find a trace of the lintel of the senior domain master. But it is extremely possible for a senior domain lord to do this with his dead head. There may even be other gains. So no matter what, they would all be willing to exchange the 2 star cores for the head of the white dolphin. But Could the final bidding price be just 2-star cores? The people at the auction house are not stupid. Even if someone does a favor and wants to let some powerful people get it cheaply, some of the chess pieces they have placed among the guests will break the situation. In other words, this is destined to be an extremely involved auction, and may even result in the highest transaction amount in Jianghu Star Territory's tens of thousands of years of history. Certainly. This is subject to successful completion of the auction. And accompanied by a huge palace, it gradually approaches the auction area from the depths of subspace, which shows that this auction is destined to be impossible to complete smoothly. Host, what you said is very light. Do you know how much time it takes us ordinary forces to collect 2-star cores? You asked us to contribute the treasures of our forces in just a few words, but in the end you refused to even provide a safety guarantee. Who among us wants to take a photo of this thing? It's just that I am doing my best to auction here, not to make wedding dresses for others. In the auction house, under the instruction of several strong men at the domain lord level, several other major sellers around them opened their mouths. Many of them have secret intentions. Because the people being pointed at are all at odds with their power. The host had an old-fashioned look on his face and just laughed after hearing this. Actually, our auction house has also thought of this. You don't need to panic. This auction house has a big business and is not the kind of small auction house you imagine that only sells without caring about after sales. Then show your sincerity. Since you have mentioned this, I will not hide it. Maybe you have checked the details of this auction house in the past, but you may not have gotten the real truth. Now I will tell you that the person standing behind us, it is the old man Wu Zun. Martial Lord. The supporter standing behind this auction house is actually Wu Zun. It's no wonder. It's not like there weren't no powerful people who wanted to attack the auction house in the past, but there was no follow-up. There were even domain lords who disappeared from the world because of this. It's very reasonable to say that the old man Wu Zun was behind it. Since Mr. Wu is maintaining order, I guess there won't be much danger even if I wait for the auction. The host looked at the discussions among the people below, and they all came to a conclusion about Wu Zun's matter, and struck a chord while the iron was hot. This auction house hereby guarantees that no matter who buys this item, he only needs to add half a star core, you can get personal protection from Mr. Wu Zun. As long as you don't leave the center of the Jianghu Star Territory, no one will be able to threaten you until you finish dealing with the white dolphin head. This guarantee must be enough to dispel everyone's concerns. I'm worried about safety. In this way, it makes people feel more at ease. After all, it is Lord Wu Zun who is personally protecting him. Since you dare to say this in front of so many people like me, there must be no lies, but I am a little curious, since this is the head of a senior domain lord, why doesn't Mr. Wu Zun use it himself? Senior Domain Lord isn't the remnant body of the main level the most effective for senior domain masters? The host looked at the strong person who asked the question with a smile and said calmly, senior domain lords are also divided into categories. This white dolphin is strong in the subspace, and its physical body has also transformed into the subspace. The old man Wu Zun is strong in the physical body. The two sides are not very complementary, so rather than waste it, it is better to sell it and exchange it for other things. I see. With this explanation, all the powerful people present understood. It is said that senior domain lords covet the physical bodies of other senior domain lords. However, the reality is different. For example, it is difficult for senior domain lords with physical bodies to adapt to subspace bodies. For senior domain lords, swallowing such a being would not only not give them the motivation to move forward and become stronger, but on the contrary, it might also lead to physical conflicts and many hidden dangers. After all, they are not from any race, they are all evolved beasts like Jia Yan, capable of devouring almost all attributes. And even if Jia Yan has reached the current level of strength, he will not swallow treasures, especially the physical blood and flesh of strong men whose attributes do not match. The swallowing talent also has its limits, and problems such as the conflict of the five elements also exist. This is also the reason why Jia Yan has set his sights on the body of a white dolphin that is similar in talent and strength to his own, and refuses to let go, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and if he misses it, he may not see it again for a long time. Everyone participating in the auction understood it, and the auction has reached its climax. That is to auction the head of a senior domain master. Okay, after understanding the significance of this auction, you have almost finished communicating with the forces behind you. Now I announce that the auction of the heads of senior domain lord level entities will begin now. In the venue, it was instantly quiet to the point of complete silence. I will produce 2 star cores. Someone suddenly raised his sign directly. Someone else smiled softly. The senior domain lord level body that can be safely photographed requires more than 2 star cores. I will give you 3. 3. A friend has produced 3 star cores. Is there anyone else willing to pay a higher price? Someone at the bottom wrote lightly and continued, I will give you 4. 5. 6. Probably they have never seen a big boss with so much money. Some of the ordinary venerable level and even ordinary stellar level experts who were originally there to accompany him felt thirsty after watching the bidding in the venue. Are all the forces in this Jianghu star territory so rich? That's the star core. Not to mention the venerable level, even many star level beings have never seen a star core in their entire life, let alone brought out so many star cores. But the beings present, adding one by one, really don't take the star core seriously at all. 9. This territory lord has paid the price of 10 star cores. I wonder who can bid higher than him. Suddenly, when the price reached 9 pieces, the audience fell silent. Dare I ask the host, would you accept items that are not much different in value from the star core? For example, our sex unique 7 mysteries mithril. The host looked at the powerful domain lord who spoke, and his expression changed. It turns out that he is the great elder of the Kixuan section. The Kixuan mithril of your sect is an excellent treasure, but compared to the star core, it seems that the level is still a little low. I wonder what bidding method your sect is planning. 2,000 tons of 7 mysterious mithrils are equivalent to 1 star core. Okay, that is to say, is your faction ready to take action? Yes, I'll give you the price of 10 star cores, which is 20,000 tons of mithril. When the price for 10 star cores was announced, everyone's hearts trembled. You know, these are 10 star cores. After 10 planets die, 10 star cores may not be born. Under normal conditions, perhaps hundreds, or even thousands of planets will die before 10 star cores can be born naturally. The 7 mysteries mithril is also a good thing. My son's weapon is mixed with about a ton of mithril, which raises the level of the weapon to a new level. No wonder the host is willing to change it. That's 20,000 tons, my mother, I can't afford to offend you. After once again seeing the courage of the top sect, there was another brief silence. Then, without waiting for the host on the stage to count, a sharp voice was heard from the audience. I will give you 20 star cores. Swish. For a moment, as soon as these words came out, everyone looked at the person who had been sitting in the corner. This being was about as strong as a star, but just sitting there, he felt a strong sense of oppression. It's just that from the beginning to now, this person has not made any moves or words, so people gradually forget about him. Unexpectedly, he actually made a bid at such an important moment. And once you place a bid, the auction price is doubled. My friend, I'm sorry for my blindness, but I don't know which force you belong to. If there are troublemakers in our auction, there will be serious consequences. The host stared at him with bright eyes. The price was doubled for no apparent reason, and 20 star cores were added to the already high price of 10 star cores. If the deal could be made at this price, he would probably be praised by his superiors. But the problem is, if something goes wrong, there must be a monster. He is afraid that this guy is here to cause trouble, which will not be beautiful. The star class sitting in the corner was a life form that looked like a dolphin. He raised his head and his eyes were blood red. When everyone saw his appearance, they looked up at the white dolphin head that appeared on the stage, and vaguely understood something. I'm not causing trouble. White Dolphin is my father. If you are willing to give up your love, I will thank you one by one in the future. Hey. For a moment, there were several chuckles in the whole scene. I'm sorry, this is the son of White Dolphin, here to play with the warmth of father and son. But they don't care whether father and son are father or not, they just care who will end up with the White Dolphin's body. 20 star cores, of course no one will compete with you, but the son of White Dolphin, the Bai family, can you get 20 star cores? Someone laughed sarcastically. Someone else said secretly, the Bai family is so powerful that they can naturally produce 20 star cores, but your son seems to have escaped from the Bai family as early as the death of White Dolphin. I just want to know, how can you come up with 20 star cores and dare to play tricks on everyone present, including the old man Wuzun? Have you ever thought about the consequences? So many playful smiles caused the expression of this dolphin monster, which was exactly the same as the white dolphin, to become distorted. A trace of ferocity quickly emerged on his young appearance. Since I dare to make a quotation, I can naturally take out the appropriate trading items. My father is a powerful person with subspace talent. Things like star cores were something he could easily capture in his early years. All the strong men were shocked. They also know the weirdness of subspace talented people, not to mention that the White Dolphin is a senior domain lord level subspace talented person. If you want a natural star core, you only need to deliberately find some dying Earth-like planets. After detecting that they have star cores, they artificially accelerate the collapse of the planet, and remove the star core from the subspace at the moment of collapse, so that the star core will not be destroyed by the collapse of the planet itself. In this way, the star core is successfully taken away. The rate is extremely terrifying. 20 star cores are really possible. Then, there are only 20 star cores. Is there anyone else willing to pay a higher price? After the host was stunned, he also wanted to understand the matter, and immediately asked with a very excited smile. The whole place was silent. Everyone knows that the head of the senior domain lord is nothing more than a dead object. It needs to be taken away and studied. 10 star cores are the minimum, and the price reaches 20 star cores. Those who can afford it? It is better to do this favor. The only son of the Bai family may be the head of the Bai family in the future. Even because of the legacy left by the White Dolphin, I am afraid that the speed of his rise will be very alarming. This deal is not a loss. The star-level White Dolphin creature in the corner suddenly looked filled with excitement when everyone stopped talking and the host started counting. As long as he retrieves his father's remains, he will not only fulfill his mother's filial expectations for him, but he will also be able to use his father's body to push his subspace talent to the top. In this way, his strength will reach the domain lord level. There are no bottlenecks. The Bai family will also have another head with astonishing strength to stop the progress of disintegration. But at this moment of his wishful thinking, a calm voice sounded. I'll give you 50 star cores. Boom. As soon as the sound came out, almost everyone felt that they were hearing hallucinations for a moment. What? 50 star cores? You heard that right? This is a star core. With 50 star cores, if nothing else, even if a senior domain master takes one shot, I'm afraid it can be done. Who is it? Are you here to entertain everyone? Isn't he afraid of death? The focus of the audience suddenly shifted from the son of the White Dolphin to the place where the sound was coming from on the other side. However, the first moment they saw this powerful man, they were startled. Because this speaking creature but it exudes the strength fluctuations of a mere venerable person. Are you kidding us? For a time, more people were dumbfounded, cruel, and some people were watching a show, and focused their attention on this venerable creature. But what surprised them was that, being watched by so many people, especially when almost everyone was even stronger than him, the person in the spotlight did not respond to everyone's gaze, and did not even show any fear or worry. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2949. This bidding creature does not care about others. He just focused his attention on the son of the white dolphin who had just bid for 20 star cores. Very interested. It's so similar. It's like he was carved out of the same mold as his father. It doesn't look like he was born by his mother. It's almost like he gave birth to him himself. Jia Yan, or rather, a clone of Jia Yan, silently marveled. This is probably where we never meet again in life. I didn't want to go and cause trouble for White Dolphin's family, because I promised White Dolphin, and I am a senior domain master who sticks to his word, but I didn't expect that I would bump into White Dolphin's son here. He said he was not looking for trouble, but if his son dared to stand in the way of legally and reasonably retrieving the benefits he gained after fighting the White Dolphin, then he would only have himself to blame no matter how he fought back. There is no way that the White Dolphin accidentally lost its body and then asked not to look for it. The little White Dolphin, which was targeted by the venerable level bidder, remained silent for a moment before looking straight at Jia Yan's clone. Are you kidding me? He asked coldly. The people around looked at the excitement meaningfully, and some even laughed dryly as if in agreement. Obviously no one believes that a mere venerable, which is still the weakest primary level of venerable, can produce 50 star cores. Even if he comes from a force with strong financial resources, it is impossible for that force to send only one venerable. If a beginner comes to the auction, it is even more impossible to hand over the disposal of 50 star cores to such a venerable person. So the price must have come from his mouth. Others looked at the host on the stage, whose expression had turned gloomy. The auction house should be the most angry about this kind of thing, and they didn't know how they would deal with this entry-level existence of the venerable. Haha, I don't like joking. Jia Yan suddenly spoke calmly while enjoying the glances of everyone. First, you made a very basic mistake. First, he raised his fingers like alien monsters. There are so many people present, and they all believe that I am the first level of the venerable. You should use your brains to think about it. Do you dare to speak openly, as a beginner of the venerable class? Yes, there are ordinary venerable beginners. Look at those few. As early as they came to the auction house, they were shivering in the corner. They just came to see the world. How could they dare to stand in front of so many people, talking eloquently under the gaze of a domain lord level powerhouse? Jia Yan smiled. How about it? Now you understand something, right? Let's talk about the second point. That is the biggest mistake you have made. You are auctioning something that should belong to me, but you have the nerve not to ask the owner's opinion. As soon as these words came out, the noise and bustle in the whole place suddenly stopped. With everyone watching in disbelief, the avatar of Jia Yan stood up silently and walked towards the high platform where the host was. The host, who was originally instructing his subordinates to take action against this inexplicable venerable person, had a wonderful expression at this moment. This venerable person who jumped out to speak was really weird. He said so much just now, but it all gave him a rather weird feeling, like a madman. But after the last words came out, even he was shocked, and he suddenly vaguely guessed a certain possibility. Something that should be his. The head of a white dolphin? And the reason why this white dolphin will die and end up here. It seems that it was because he lost the war with another senior domain lord? No way. After the host figured this out, his eyes no longer had any killing intent. Instead, he looked with a little fear at the little entry-level venerable being who walked next to him. Sir, What do you think? I said that I am willing to use 50 star cores to take back what should be mine. Are you willing? This is the greatest respect I can give Wuzun, but since you are waiting for the auction of something that should belong to me without notifying me, I will deduct 49 star cores from it as compensation. If you feel that my face is not worth so much money, you can also try to let me have it. His Holiness discussed it with me personally. You. The host didn't know what to say for a moment. Until now, this guy, who was considered to be just the beginning of a venerable person, was talking nonsense, but the nonsense he used was a bit scary. The person who killed the white dolphin was naturally another senior domain master from the Orion arm, and he was also a senior domain master with subspace talent similar to the white dolphin. And senior domain masters like Bi Dolphin can represent the power of the Bi family. In recent years, they have been extremely arrogant and even ignored many rules and regulations of the entire Northern Territory Alliance. This is not only due to the terrifying power of the Bi family, but also in many aspects. Precisely because the white dolphin's subspace talent is weird and difficult to capture. And the senior domain master with the same subspace talent who defeated the white dolphin? How terrible it is, no one dares to imagine. This, Your Excellency, you said that this thing should belong to you. I wonder if you have any evidence. After hesitating for a moment, the host, who was cunning and temperamental, finally chose not to distrust such a novice monk. Instead, he had the patience to talk to the novice monk on an equal footing with him, who he could never respect. If this first-level venerable is really that person's clone, I won't be wrong if I show more respect to him. Now we have to see what this person's true identity is. If you are making fun of yourself, be prepared to be torn into pieces. Of course, there must be no guy at the beginning of the venerable level who dares to do such a thing that seeks death, and the attitude of contempt for a domain lord level should not be faked by someone who is not a stronger person. Just when everyone was silent, wondering who the lord was, the white dolphin in the corner of the stage suddenly figured out something and stared at Jia Yan with piercing eyes. Are you the evolved beast? It's you who killed my father. The white dolphin panted violently, and its eyes turned into a look of intense hatred. Jia Yan silently looked at this stellar creature. You can't say that, little brother, your father came to fight with me. I have neither the intention of provoking nor the thought of fighting with him. He had to decide the winner with me. I did it out of self-preservation. Instead of fighting, he couldn't defeat me and died. No one can blame me for this. How can you say that I killed him? In layman's terms, he is asking for his own death. Humph. You're looking for death, Jia Yan. Wait, I will avenge my father. Now, let's use your clone as interest. The white dolphin creature, as if it recognized the identity of Jia Yan's clone, rose straight into the sky and launched an attack in the direction of the clone. Even if this clone is really the clone of the evolved beast, but its true form is not there, the clone is just a venerable level. From his point of view, he is a star level, and it is naturally not enough to fight against the true form, but to deal with a clone, it should be no problem. You dare. He didn't even need Jia Yan's clone to think of a way to neutralize the attack. The host standing next to him changed his face several times and directly used the momentum of a domain lord to neutralize the attack of the son of the white dolphin. The collision of spiritual powers caused a shock wave floating in the air, causing a large number of ripples throughout the auction house. Young Master Bai, right? You should have understood the rules of this auction house when you came here. If you do anything to me, are you seeking death? The host's sharp eyes were directed at the son of the white dolphin. He is a territory lord level, and when he glances over, no star level person can bear it. Suddenly, Teng Teng, the son of the white dolphin, took a few steps back and knocked over the chair. Forget it, since we are old friends, don't embarrass him. Besides, he and I have a grudge for killing my father. It's understandable that he can't understand. Jia Yan blocked the host's next move. It's not that he is so kind. But he was afraid of causing trouble, so it was more serious to determine the ownership of the white dolphin's head as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if the real body arrived, he would have to use force. In that case, if nothing else, he and the world would be the relationship between the Star Territory and the Northern Territory will definitely be forged, and it may not even have a good relationship with the Northern Territory from the beginning. It may also affect the Orion Arm caravan that is currently trading in the Jianghu Star Territory and the Northern Territory. He also has scruples. Of course, the biggest concern is that if the owner of the head is not determined early, it will be taken away by others later. This is the biggest trouble. Since the senior has a kind heart, let's do as he said. Spare him once. Jia Yan didn't even look at the white dolphin descendant who was still staring at him with hatred, thinking he was a clown. How about that, what I just proposed? He asked. The host's words flickered, and he said, that's it, because we don't have the normal right to deal with this thing. I just reported the matter to Mr. Wuzun. I think Mr. Wuzun must have passed it. He will be here in person soon, and then you can discuss it with him in person. Forgive us for not being able to make a decision. Jia Yan sighed deeply in his heart. He just didn't want to trade through the hands of a senior domain lord. God knows whether he would be slaughtered or whether it would escalate to the point of using force. That would be quite troublesome. Jia Yan doesn't want to see provoking big forces, especially the possibility of confrontation with the entire Northern Territory. If the people on Earth want to develop well, the Orion Arm must be stable, and the Orion Arm must be stable if the Northern Territory is not hostile to the Orion Arm. That's true. It's true that when you come to your friend's territory, why don't you pay me a visit? I'll send my avatar to come and meet with your famous martial lord friend in the Jianghu Star Territory. Jia Yan laughed. The territory lords and the beings below the territory lord present all showed expressions that they had seen the excitement but had missed the treasure. There is a person who is suspected to be a senior domain lord who comes out to snatch it. No matter what, it is difficult for their power to compete. It's just that the conditions proposed by the senior domain lord level expert are quite harsh. Just a piece of star core and you want the head of a senior domain lord? This is even lower than the basic price proposed by the host. How could they agree to such conditions? I would like to see if this guy, who may be the clone of the senior domain lord, has the confidence to speak like this after Mr. Wuzun arrives in person. That will definitely be exciting. He said that his true form will also rush there, but Mr. Wuzun is by no means an ordinary senior domain master. I hope he will not be afraid when we meet him. Of course it's best not to start a fight. If two senior domain masters fight, our Jianghu Star domain will be harmed. Out of their confidence in the martial lord, all the powerful men present below the domain lord level did not have the slightest fear or worry about Jia Yan's so-called going in person. In the past, it was not like there were no senior domain lords who went to Jianghu Star Territory to cause trouble with great fanfare. At those times, Wuzun, a super powerful being who became a senior domain lord with martial arts, would use his fists to teach the other party how to behave. The true body is coming? The true body is coming. And in the corner where no one cared, the white dolphin who had been staring at Jia Yan's clone on the stage with resentful eyes chewed on these words, and then his eyes became sharp. He took out the communicator, thought for a long time, and then dialed the number. Uncle, I have found my father's enemy. I want to ask you to take action. Whether he can kill or not is one thing, but when I think of this bad breath, what I want more is that my father's remains need me. Dispose of it, yes. After talking for a long time, he then hung up the contact number. After thinking for a long time, he dialed another number with mother recorded in the communicator. Jia Yan enjoyed the preferential treatment from the so-called Wuzun sheltered auction house. Although everyone knows that this body of his is just a clone, everyone is quite respectful to him. At this point, this venerable level has not revealed any clues, which means that it is certain that he is the clone of the senior territory lord. Treating a senior territory lord, even if it is just his clone, requires these territory lords to be very attentive. Otherwise, it will cause a very serious diplomatic incident, and it may even turn into a gap between the other party and the senior domain lord martial lord, and it may even turn into a war between the two major star domains. Diplomacy is no small matter. Sir, this is our auction house's special wine. Your avatar is at the venerable level. We will serve you the venerable level wine. You can try it. A female creature served fine wine and other things for Jia Yan's clone to enjoy. Jia Yan didn't doubt his presence and started eating and drinking. The auctioneers below either left for business, or were nearby to find a closer place to watch. The bolder one stayed, waiting for something to come just like Jia Yan. On the other hand, the son of the white dolphin who had received all the supercilious looks was just as submissive as his father. He hid in the corner but refused to leave. You are very much like your father, but I have to give you a piece of advice. Suddenly Jia Yan walked up to him. What advice? The son of white dolphin asked indifferently. Before your father died, he was thinking about you and your mother. My advice to you is, I will try my best to abide by the agreement with him, but this is not necessary. If you continue to refuse to repent, I will have no choice but to violate it. The agreement you made with your father. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2950. After Jia Yan finished speaking, Shi Shiren walked to other places. The expression of the son of white dolphin suddenly changed, like a chameleon. Finally, he drank all the wine someone gave him, got up and left the auction house. He had finally thought it through. Even if he made an appointment with that person, a gentleman would not stand in danger if he really took action. Jia Yan knew that he was secretly causing trouble, so he might take action against him. The senior domain lord level, if he takes action, for a mere star like him, he will definitely die. Between heaven and earth, the wind and clouds are changing, just like the beginning of chaos. In a land of starry sky and chaos, the suction force of the vacuum seems to be more exaggerated than other places. Here, there is a wilderness giant that seems to be only 20 kilometers tall, standing proudly. He punched and kicked out, and the vacuum in the world suddenly became more severe. It turned out that he had created the chaos here. This strong man practiced from time to time, and finally, as he continued to practice, his strength steadily improved to the highest level. However, after this level reached its peak, it stopped without warning. The scene of movement and stillness was extremely uncomfortable. It's almost time to go. He chuckled, and his hearty smile could easily infect others. The giant lifted his feet and flew to somewhere in the interstellar space. The speed suddenly became faster and faster, and soon it exceeded the level visible to the naked eye, reaching half the speed of light. Of course, this is not really the speed of light, but it is entering a certain spiritual realm. In one step, it is hundreds or thousands of kilometers, which is similar to subspace flight. If he were to have such speed in battle, he would have unified the galaxy long ago, which is of course impossible. The strong people in the starry sky, especially those above the domain masters, almost all have similar means of movement. Otherwise, they can only stay in the star domain where they were born for the rest of their lives. How lonely it would be. Halfway through the attack, the giant was startled. Because he could feel that some unknown terror was flying through the subspace, flying far away into the center of his Jianghu star field, and the speed was not slow. He hesitated for a moment, then smiled and continued his pace. In the depths of the subspace, as a strong man, Jia Yan immediately locked onto the distant terrifying giant. As expected, I'm not a weakling, but this doesn't prevent me from getting back what belongs to me. Jia Yan said calmly. Under the guidance of Jia Yan, Adisha flew along the starry sky where the auction house was. Within the palace. My lord, I wonder when the real body you mentioned will arrive. After waiting for about a few hours, some of the people in the auction house had some suspicions. If a daring ordinary venerable level makes a big mistake, then the territory lord level and stellar level experts present will be in trouble. The questioner was very polite, but the doubts in his eyes were obvious. Jia Yan's alien-like clone looked at him and said calmly, "If you are not involved in the incident, I advise you to leave as soon as possible." The expression of this stellar powerhouse has changed, and he said bluntly, "Why am I not a person involved in the incident? I am the leader of Jianghu Star Territory. If you can't give us a satisfactory answer, there must be more than one person involved. I, and all my friends behind me, will come to you to demand justice." "Fair, tisk tisk." Jia Yan smiled and poured the wine in his hand into his stomach, silently looking at the sky. "Don't worry, we're already here." After speaking, I saw the subspace in the sky suddenly cracking. This auction house is said to be an auction house, but it is not a building, but a large shady structure. Of course, there are a large number of physical construction items in it, and the technology contained in it is definitely not on the same level as the shady camp for war's things. Otherwise, how can we accommodate dozens or even hundreds of domain lord level experts? The large shady auction house is already a very large man-made object, at least with an area of thousands of kilometers. However, after the subspace cracked, the object that slowly knocked out of the subspace directly from the inside crushed the so-called auction house space directly on its head. And it's not just a little crushing, it's a comprehensive crushing. A huge palace with a diameter of 10,000 kilometers. It's about the same size as an Earth-like planet. And it is not a gas structure like a black screen, but a real building. A large number of exquisite metal objects and stone objects are constructed bit by bit to build this huge palace. No one knows how much money it will cost. For a moment, all the powerful men present felt suffocated. What kind of existence does this have to be able to afford such a palace? What superb skills the craftsmen who built such a palace have, and how much money it costs to build such a palace? Everyone is like a bumpkin who saw a truly rich man. His eyes were dull and he was speechless. Haha, the reaction over there is quite fast. Jia Yan's clone, who suddenly sat on a chair inside the auction house, smiled slightly as if he had noticed something. Only then did everyone notice that under the great shock of the palace's appearance, they had missed another major event that suddenly happened. That is, in the starry sky at the other end, there is a huge giant, walking to this starry sky, shrinking into inches, looking extremely free and easy. But the appearance of this person who should have caused a big shock was completely overshadowed by the grandeur of the palace. But just because they didn't notice, it didn't mean that Jia Yan, who was waiting in the palace, didn't notice. Even the clone noticed it. How could he not notice such a huge monster? Is this the so-called martial lord? He doesn't seem to be very good at communicating, but it's pretty good. I've been very strong in mental strength during this period, and I just need someone to test my skills with. As for whether I will be beaten to death, it depends on his nature and my temper after the war. Jia Yan smiled lightly, stood up with his giant mosquito body from the center of the hall, shook off the non-existent dust on his body, and slowly walked out of this huge palace gracefully and majestically. This. The star-level being who was still asking about Jia Yan's clone just now was already frightened to death by the scenery outside the auction house, and he stepped back in silence. "My friend, don't you want to ask anything else? Now that my true identity has arrived, why not just ask me about my true identity directly? Maybe I will give you face and not even pursue this matter today." The clone could interrupt this person's escape with a half-smiling smile. "No. No need, I was just joking, ha ha ha, I'm leaving now, farewell, senior." The star hurriedly denied what he just said, then clasped his fists at Jia Yan, turned around and left immediately without daring to look back. Jia Yan just smiled and didn't stop him. But he saw that a certain stellar high-level powerhouse in the auction house, after the host witnessed all this, gave a gentle look and followed closely behind this stellar powerhouse, as if he wanted to take action. Jia Yan smiled friendly at the host again, which immediately elicited a kind nod from the other party, but this meant a lot more to please. As expected, until we see the true reality, people all have illusions. I saw them, one or two, and they all became honest. The true form in the sky, the giant mosquito Jia Yan, flew directly out of the palace gate after revealing part of the palace. He did not come to the auction house, but just flew towards the strong giant who happened to come to this starry sky. Your Excellency, you are the martial lord of the Jianghu Star territory, right? Yes, it seems like you are the one who killed the white dolphin, Jia Yan. The giant didn't have any discomfort with Jia Yan calling him by his name directly. Because both parties were senior domain lords, and when he got closer, he clearly felt that this mosquito-like monster had a power fluctuation that even he suppressed. This is the kind of mental fluctuation that cannot resist the explosion of mental power when it is improved, indicating that this Jia Yan has improved his mental power not long ago. Thinking of the rumors about the opponent's previous swallowing competition with the white dolphin, he felt a little silent in his heart. If the senior domain master who can kill the white dolphin increases his strength a lot after killing the white dolphin, how strong is he now? I'm Jia Yan, let's stop talking. Jianghu Starfield doesn't take me seriously this time. Wu Zun, I'm a very talkative person, but if you think I'm very talkative, put my majesty aside. If you step on it and play with it, then you have made the wrong calculation. As he spoke, the surrounding starry sky darkened, as if some kind of force was about to completely separate this place from normal space. The pure brainwave power suppressed the entire starry sky and almost destroyed everything. I don't know what you mean. Faced with Jia Yan's accusation, it was naturally impossible for the muscular giant to admit it. Even if Jia Yan's accusation was correct, he had no possibility of fully admitting it. What's more, Jia Yan's accusations were all based on Jia Yan's side. What Yan did unilaterally cannot be said to be fair at all. But the other party had no intention of defending. After all, Jia Yan killed the white dolphin, and the two of them gambled on the most important thing, but ended up in the Jianghu Star territory. This is a problem that cannot be evaded no matter what. Just like the snipe and the clam fighting, the fisherman wins, but in the end the winner among the snipe and the clam comes back to find the fisherman. Tell me, who is right and who is wrong in this matter? It's impossible to say who is right or wrong, and the people in his Jianghu Star territory can only give a less than kind evaluation at best. No need to pretend to be crazy, why not? Jia Yan sneered and looked at the auction house below. You and I will have a competition that has nothing to do with hatred, regardless of life or death, until the point is reached. The winner will get the right to dispose of the body of the white dolphin. The giant Wu Zun paused, then shook his head and said, I am willing to compete, but if you think that the entire body of the white dolphin is here with me, then you are wrong. I only have the head of the white dolphin here, and his body is not. I'm not very attractive, how could I keep them all? What? Jia Yan was slightly startled and quickly continued to ask, then where did the other parts of his body go? This moment caught Jia Yan a little off guard. According to Edish's analysis report, the other party clearly didn't have much time to deal with the body of the white dolphin. After all, the body of a senior domain lord is not so easy to dispose of. It must be at least the domain lord level. Editha must be able to observe such a big scene. But Wu Zun said that the other bodies of the white dolphin were sent away. That's right, if it wasn't dealt with, why would there be only one head in the auction house? Damn it! After thinking for a while, Jia Yan's eyes were filled with resentment and a little hostility. Wu Zun was criticized by Jia Yan, and some unknown brilliance flashed in his eyes. In the end, he did not choose to take action, but like a thief who was really caught, he sighed, I personally decomposed the body, but there were 2 other friends at the scene at the time, so I disposed of the other parts of the white dolphin body to them at a certain price. Very good, Wuzun, right? The tone of your words seems to be calm, but I read some hostility and even murderous intention in your words. Jia Yan suddenly felt lukewarm. He smiled and said word by word, you must have wanted to fight me from the beginning, right? There was another long silence, and then the giant, who had always spoken in a customized manner, suddenly roared and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Amazing. Jia Yan, you are the first person in so many years who dares to anger me despite my efforts to restrain myself. For this reason, you are worthy of my praise. After saying that, the muscles all over his body suddenly swelled up, and his overall momentum was like a rising tide, directly reaching some kind of peak. Yes, before I came here, I never thought about communicating with you peacefully. You are not such a person, and neither am I, so you said, if we don't have a fight, how can we achieve a result that is satisfactory to both parties? Jia Yan felt a little calmer instead, or it should be said that it was impossible for senior domain masters to have so many emotions. They are just 2 rivals playing each other. I don't want any praise from you, so, are we going to live or die? Jia Yan's response was direct, but full of strong self-confidence and ruthlessness. He was so cold that the other person froze slightly. I didn't think about life and death. Killing you must not be that simple. You are a subspace talent, and I, Jianghu Starfield, can't do without me. It would be a pity to die, so regardless of life or death, if I lose, I just give you something. He admitted it simply, and expressed his greed for life and fear of death in such a refreshing and refined way. Good. Before Jia Yan finished speaking, he didn't even wait for the other party to say to move the battlefield, and directly came to recruit the big one. Mental power impact. This is the first time he has shown it to the same level after raising the upper limit of his spiritual power. This power, he weighed by himself, had probably broken through the critical point of a senior domain lord. This was the time to see the results. The spiritual power gathered into a line was directed towards the so-called martial lord, shooting with lightning and flint. Puff. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2951. Facing Jia Yan's mental power. Wuzun raised his fist, and according to Jia Yan's spiritual power, he punched it down. The power of both sides seems to be mental power and physical power, but in fact they are both manifestations of power, so when he was hit by the opponent's fist, Jia Yan also felt some resistance. But this resistance was much smaller than he imagined. It's like entering a deserted place. Terrible mental power. Wuzun's demeanor changed immediately, and then he rubbed his steps backwards. With the power of Jia Yan's brainwaves, he knocked back a large swath of the starry sky and rubbed out a large number of sparks. The entire auction house and the large number of powerful people who were vaguely watching the battle all around made a sound of exclamation. Some people even became worried. Could it be that Lord Wuzun, the greatest strongman in the Jianghu Star territory, was defeated here? How is it? Lord Marshal, are you satisfied with my energy? If you want to surrender now, you still have time. Jia Yan asked with a calm smile. He was just trying his best. Mental power was not originally an extremely outstanding feature of Jia Yan, but in the recent series of events, his mental power seemed to be coming from behind, surpassing his subspace ability and the possibility of swallowing ability. But all this is based on the fact that Jia Yan only swallowed the mental power of the white dolphin. If Jia Yan swallowed the physical body of the white dolphin, other abilities will surely grow, and the mental power will not be so unique by then. And for example, the power of subspace does not conflict with the mental power. On the contrary, it can increase his speed and accuracy of action in the subspace and complement each other. Therefore, it cannot be said that when the mental power is strong, other talents become useless. But now Jia Yan has not thought of using his subspace talent. Surrender? Your Excellency, Jia Yan is joking, but I haven't taken it seriously yet. Wu Zun smiled sarcastically upon hearing this, and then a slight explosion suddenly appeared on his fist. Jia Yan was slightly surprised. Although the power of this explosion was not created by any positive or negative force, the intensity and increase of the power would have made it difficult for him to defeat the opponent before entering the battle to create the world. Difficult. But now I am no longer the same person I was before I entered the world of creation. Jia Yan took a half step back with a cheerful look. This half step seemed to be just a small movement, but it perfectly avoided the martial master's attack. On both sides, it looked like ordinary people were engaging in close combat, their moves changing frequently, attacking while defending, and defending while attacking. But they are actually mosquito monsters, one measuring 20 kilometers in size and the other 30 kilometers in size. Such two giant monsters were as flexible as human beings in the starry sky. They could swing fists with speeds of thousands of kilometers per second in an instant. Such power and terrifying sound waves could swallow up all the punches. The auction house below was already extremely surprised. This Lord Doppelganger, I wonder if your true body will win, or, Master Wu Zun, will he win? The host couldn't help but came to Jia Yan's clone and asked him what he wanted to know. At the same time, all the auction houses present suddenly focused part of their attention here. They also wanted to know how Jia Yan's clone would judge as the clone of the person involved. Of course, they also want to know whether Jia Yan will not be able to control the clone properly because he is engaged in a fierce battle. If this is the case, they may choose to destroy the Lord-level clone in front of them in order to help Master Wu Zun in the battle. But obviously, their calculations were wrong. I saw that the clone took back the scene of watching the battle in space, and Gu Jingbuobo said calmly, "Are you blind? Your martial lord and I have not started a real battle. We will stop at the agreement, then this battle is about going to the end, unless, your martial master has no martial virtue and uses the fighting energy that would be used in a real confrontation, otherwise this battle will definitely be a draw." How could Master Wu Zun not have martial virtue? The people behind him, some of whom were extremely admirers of Mr. Wu, could not help but speak first. Jia Yan's clone just smiled slightly and remained silent, as if he didn't bother to argue with these people. In a battle at the senior domain lord level, who cares about martial ethics? He didn't believe it. The so-called martial lord, when he showed any flaws, would he refrain from attacking himself and choose to practice martial ethics? When he talks about martial ethics, Jia Yan recognizes him as a martial arts master, not some empty reputation. The confrontation in the sky soon gradually entered another level. The two sides seemed to have gradually mastered each other's fighting form, and they showed a trace of real fire. Once it is released, it can travel tens of thousands of kilometers per second. It's really tens of thousands of kilometers, and it's not false at all. Jia Yan didn't even know that his seemingly awkward feet could grow to this level. Of course, because it is swinging its feet, the speed can be increased to such a high speed. It is a bit like a human whipping, which can break the speed of sound. The blue feet, under the blessing of mental and physical strength, ensured that the feet could be thrown so fast without causing the slightest risk of breakage. But he is fast and the opponent is not slow either. Wu Zun, just like his name, purely uses physical fighting methods, waving his fists rapidly, and the starry sky between the two sides seems to be intertwined with the shadows of countless feet and fists, turning into a world of foot fists. From time to time, there are scenes of fists and feet colliding together, and some of these scenes show sparks flying around, causing neutrino annihilation like a planet colliding. The other scenes are different. Some are hallucination like shadows of small worlds. There are scenes of a certain giant exercising tenacity, and there are also scenes of a young man in black working hard to cultivate his own black god's power. There is also a scene of a little mosquito fighting against a powerful enemy that is far superior to itself. Seeing these pictures gives me a huge headache, and I don't know if they are true or false. But everyone knows that it is the two senior domain masters who have reached a very deep level of will that can cause such a big noise during the confrontation. During the confrontation, Jia Yan suddenly saw a fist that violently broke through several will images belonging to Wu Zun, and then violently penetrated several will images belonging to his own, as if several layers of power were directly superimposed. Suddenly he hit his head. Whether it is an ordinary Earth-level master or Jia Yan who has now reached the senior domain lord level, the head has always been their weakest point. Although Jia Yan has the ability to protect his vital organs extremely tightly, his target is a senior domain lord who is at the pinnacle of martial arts. Maybe he will fall into his trap without noticing. You've made a good deal, but you actually do something dirty in the middle of a discussion? This is not the way of a gentleman. Jia Yan snorted coldly, and when Wu Zun's fist attacked his mosquito body with extremely shocking evil energy, the space was distorted, and he himself disappeared in an instant. Subspace talent. Wu Zun used such a cold move like a sneak attack. He thought that there would be some gains, but what shocked him was that Jia Yan could hide in the subspace even when he was so close. It seemed that the guy who was rumored to have defeated the White Dolphin was far more terrifying than he imagined. Wu Zun turned his gaze away from Jia Yan and towards another shady space around the auction house, expressing a helpless expression. I see, isn't the person you hung up on just now this martial lord? Jia Yan's clone in the auction house cast a strange look at the shady scene not far away from the auction house. The son of White Dolphin was probably unwilling to leave like that, so he kept waiting on the other side for the situation to change. Now I know that he hung up the phone in the auction house before, asking for help, and the person he asked for help was none other than this martial lord. Okay. Is Wu Zun actually the helper arranged by White Dolphin for his son? Interesting. At the same time, Jia Yan, who was fighting against the giant monster in the starry sky, also showed some relief. After he resisted Wu Zun's hidden trump card and easily defused it, his eyes became sharp. Wu Zun, I didn't expect that you have an old relationship with White Dolphin, and you are even willing to take care of his children. Tell me, what is your relationship with White Dolphin? During the attack of the giant monster, he exchanged a move with Jia Yan, staggered back several steps, and his eyes became extremely gloomy. Jia Yan, White Dolphin was once my best disciple. At this point, Jia Yan suddenly realized. No wonder, I saw that your moves are slightly similar to those of the White Dolphin. I didn't expect it to be such a relationship. So, are you going to take care of their orphans and widows? Yes, Jia Yan, I definitely don't want to avenge my apprentice. It's just that you broke into my Jianghu star territory and asked for the things in my star territory at a low price. On this point, no matter where you go to argue, it's you. The question is, do you still want to continue fighting? After Wu Zun took a few steps back, his expression became a little strange. Don't want to fight anymore. Even though he is a martial lord, he is also a well-known fighting maniac. In order to fight with a senior domain lord, he did not hesitate to go to other people's home star domain and fight several times. However, when facing the giant mosquito creature in front of him, he struck a few moves and unleashed a sudden killer move. After returning in vain, a wave of incomparable fear was already surging in his heart. If the fight continues, let alone taking advantage, he may die. This giant mosquito is more terrifying than I imagined. I'll fight you when you say I'll fight you, and I won't fight you when I say you won't. Do you think I'm a fool? Jia Yan sneered, and in the midst of his ferocious voice, he stood up and continued. At the same time, the power of his brainwaves poured out like it was free, covering the other person's body. Wu Zun groaned, feeling as if his spiritual power was like that of Hai Chao. His whole body shook wildly, and his eyes immediately froze. This level of brainwave power. It seems, it shouldn't be owned by a senior domain owner. Puff puff. Jia Yan's giant mosquito legs were seen stabbing the giant monster's body surface one after another, piercing his body into caves one after another, which could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. However, Wu Zun retreated violently and seized the opportunity to kick again, forcing the giant mosquito that was about to pursue him to move away some distance. Jia Yan lamented in his heart that his hand-to-hand combat ability was still a bit weak. But it doesn't matter, I am not a melee fighter, but a subspace talent. Sneak attacks, assassinations, surprise attacks, and front and back explosions are my strongest points. Of course, now it seems that we have to add the advantage of extremely strong mental power. So it doesn't matter if you can't fight hand to hand. It's just a matter of putting more effort into it. His eyes were already flashing with blood. Since this martial lord was hostile to him, it would be better to end it once and for all. Even if he was to be hostile to the entire Northern Territory, that would be something in the future. After all, even if he stopped now, well, judging from the fact that Wu Zun's beloved disciple died in his own hands, it must be that under his slander and instigation, the Orion Arm's survival space in the Northern Territory must not be much. It would be better to have a good fight and kill him. Wu Zun on the other side, his moves began to become more orderly. Jia Yan faced him head-on. Even though his mental power was far ahead, even doubling, he was unable to defeat him for the time being. Even Jia Yan was a little surprised. The bonus power of this move was really powerful. He is worthy of the name of Martial Lord. But that's all. The strong are the strong. This is equivalent to a wise saying whether it is placed in the Central Star Territory or in the Northern Territory. If he wants to win, it may just be a simple burst of mental power that will blow him into confusion. Or enter the subspace, move behind him in an instant, and kill him with one blow. Or maybe the positive and negative forces come together to kill him with a gorgeous lightning assassination. For Jia Yan, these moves can be quickly prepared and executed. When his eyes became sharp, he was ready to use these three moves to end this ability test. Above the starry sky, there were suddenly two more amazing auras. These two breaths penetrated the rainbow, like two sharp blades piercing the battlefield, disrupting the momentum that Jia Yan had just condensed, and creating a gap, causing the warrior to stagger back a long way, and got rid of it. Jia Yan's pursuit. Jia Yan raised his mosquito head, his eyes filled with cruelty. Who? Interrupting my time to enjoy the battle. This, Mr. Jia Yan, I'm sorry to interrupt your discussion. We just saw that you and Wu Zun were a little angry, so we came to mediate. I'm sorry. In that place that exuded a shocking aura, two figures gradually appeared, and soon came to Wu Zun's side. Standing with them, they seemed to share the same hatred. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2952. Oh. Jia Yan's eyes became intense again. For him today, a senior domain lord is indeed not enough to look at, but what about three of them? It is not that he belittles himself. If the three senior domain lords were replaced by him before entering the world of creation, I am afraid that except for using subspace and positive and negative forces to explode materials to fight a life or death war, he would not have any possibility of victory. And even then, the possibility of him winning is very low. In the end, it was probably the result of him using his subspace talent to escape. But now, It's different. The surge in mental power greatly improved his strength. If a senior domain lord level expert cannot get an effective and intuitive self-evaluation, then what about the three of them? Jia Yan's eyes sharpened. But the three senior domain lord level experts on the opposite side, who were facing a formidable enemy, had some absurd and uninhibited thoughts flashing in their hearts. This Jia Yan seems to still want to fight with them. What the hell? They are three senior domain masters. The other two people cannot be said to be the faithful friends of Wu Zun, but Wu Zun had given them a lot of benefits in the previous deal, so between emotions and reasons, they all had to stand up and take their place. Wu Zun platform. As long as they scare Jia Yan away, they won't care if there is any conflict with Jia Yan in the future. After all, the Orion arm is separated from them by the entire Bai family. How could Jia Yan just come here every day to try to trick them? But they never expected that they, who originally just wanted to be a peacemaker, found that Jia Yan did not make the slightest move to retreat after they stood up. But want to take action? Hold the grass. You are dealing with three major players of the same level. Where does this eagerness to move come from? Don't be sorry. Since you and I are friends, it's natural to take action. Jia Yan first said something that seemed to soften him. But after the other three people looked relaxed, they sneered again, but whether I am willing to agree with your persuasion is another matter. What? Sir, we don't mean any harm. The two new senior domain masters had ugly expressions on their faces. If Jia Yan wasn't a powerful person they didn't understand, they might have joined forces to attack. Is there no malice? Do I have to believe what you say? I am not a friend of either of you, and I have never even met you. However, it is obvious that you have a very close relationship with Wu Zun. You said that you suddenly if you show up to mediate, are you on Wu Zun's side or on my side? This. Jia Yan's words were also very reasonable, and the two newly arrived senior domain masters immediately felt a little confused about how to explain them. Your Excellency, please speak frankly. What do you want to do? At least the two of us here can't just sit back and watch you continue to attack Wu Zun. No matter what, he is also a close friend of mine. One of the two senior domain masters became as cold as ice. They were polite to Jia Yan, but they were just being polite first and then fighting. If they really wanted to take action, there were three senior domain masters here, who would they be afraid of? Jia Yan was silent for a moment and then said calmly, I have already made it clear that my only purpose in going to the Jianghu Star territory, or even the Northern Territory, is to retrieve what originally belonged to me. The three senior domain masters exchanged glances for a moment, and then quickly separated. Wu Zun's eyes became sinister. Your Excellency Jia Yan, if you want the body of a white dolphin, the head I have now can give it to you. I guess this head is a big gain for you. As for the other parts, I have really handed them over to others, so please don't pursue them any further. Jia Yan sighed helplessly again. Didn't you hear clearly? I said, I want to get back what belongs to me. Whoever blocks it, whoever dares to hide it, will not hesitate to start a war with them. Stubborn. That Wu Zun became a little angry. He didn't wait for the two senior domain masters around him to express anything, and took the brunt of the attack in the direction of Jia Yan. The two senior domain experts at the back looked directly uncomfortable. Wu Zun seems to have a martial character, but in fact, it is not that simple for people of the same level. If we start now, aren't we planning to drag them into trouble? But superior. The two of them didn't like Jia Yan very much. Since Jia Yan refused to drink wine as a penalty, they didn't blame them for joining forces. The two strong men were half a step behind Wu Zun and advanced into Jia Yan's brainwave power area. Facing the combined attack of three senior domain masters was definitely extremely dangerous for Jia Yan. So he wouldn't face them easily, at least not in the starry sky. Because he is just a person with strong subspace talent. Puff. A stream of spiritual power exploded in the direction where the three powerful men were coming. Wu Zun took the lead and dispersed the spiritual power, but this also delayed him for a moment. When the three strong men attacked Jia Yan's position, they saw the subspace cracking open. Jia Yan was able to retreat into the subspace one step before they arrived. Enter subspace. Be careful, this guy is a subspace talent, and he is probably more terrifying than the white dolphin. Oh, why bother? We have no chance of winning against someone with subspace talent. The temperaments and attitudes of the three strong men are subtly different. One of them was completely unwilling to take action, and when he charged just now, he was not as fast as the other two. As soon as the three people finished speaking, there was a brainwave force created by positive and negative forces inside the subspace, which penetrated the subspace. Here. A senior domain master with a confident expression turned directly behind him and blasted him with brainwave power. He is a being with strong mental power, and his development of alertness has reached something close to a talent. It shows that it is extremely difficult to attack him secretly. Jia Yan chose him as the first target, which shows that he made the wrong choice. If you dare to sneak attack me, let's see how you retreat into the subspace now. Gu, a strong man, smiled ferociously. In an instant, he had a lot of mental power that disrupted the entire subspace in front of him, and then he looked at the thing that sneaked up on him. He was startled, and it turned out that what attacked him was not the foot of a giant mosquito, but something similar to a meteorite. Burst. When he was slightly surprised, an unprecedented sense of crisis emerged from this ordinary piece of meteorite-like material. This piece of interstellar material is quite common. Even if it has some mysterious brainwave power attached to it, it is nothing more than a roughly processed thing. No one who looks at it can believe that it can cause a senior domain lord to treat it with caution. But the two forces attached to this object, one positive and one negative, caused earth-shattering effects when detonated by the earth-shattering brainwave power. Facing this spiritually gifted senior domain master who wanted to dissipate him, he was so shocked that he rushed back. An unimaginable terrifying force was exerted on his body, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. The two people behind were also attacked by this explosive force and couldn't help but retreat thousands of kilometers. However, Wu Zun still took action on the way and intercepted the traumatized senior domain master friend with mental power. Are you okay? I was a little injured. Fortunately, I reacted quickly mentally and put up a defense in front of me. Otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. This is what the data says, yin and yang dao. It's simply an unreasonable power. The three senior domain masters naturally knew something about the simplified version of yin and yang Tao that was widely advocated in Orion's arms. It's just that they never thought that this kind of power could turn things around in the hands of a low-level Orion arm weakling. Jia Yan, a senior domain lord level powerhouse, could actually cause the same level of powerhouses to be used by him. So much damage. This is just an item he made using add-ons, and it's just one item. If there are dozens of items. The three senior domain masters stood back to back, their entire expressions changing from solemn to slightly fearful. The name of the evolved beast has always been spread in the Northern Territory. Even the strongest senior evolved beast at the time was the territory lord of their Northern Territory who used the main force to kill him. Therefore, they will not underestimate the power of the evolved beasts. Moreover, they definitely did not welcome the hostility of the evolved beasts with a smile. After all, there had been unforgettable grudges and grudges. Unexpectedly, another evolved beast came today that was more powerful than the previous evolved beast. These senior domain masters looked around in silence and evilly. In the subspace, Jia Yan's figure floats up and down. Although senior domain owners can easily see low-level spaces. But it depends on who is in this low-level space. Jia Yan's mental power transcends the level of a senior domain lord and has many magical qualities. He was surprised when he tried it now. As long as he entered the subspace area around the third floor, even the senior domain masters could not see where he was. But this doesn't mean that he can fly to the opponent without anyone noticing and kill him. There is only the third level space recently. If he goes to the second level, he will definitely be discovered. Although he can escape from the second level in a short time, that time is enough for a senior domain lord level being to make a defensive response. But we can try to deal with the domain lord level in the future. But at the domain lord level, do you need to use these moves? In short, Jia Yan roughly judged that this wave of improvement in his mental power had also affected his subspace talent, making it difficult for even senior domain masters to see himself outside the subspace. No wonder the speed of activities in subspace seemed to be much faster before. Jia Yan, why don't we talk? Suddenly, someone on the alert side and spoke. What do you want to talk about? 1,000 kilometers away from these three people, Jia Yan silently appeared. The three senior domain masters were a little moved, but thinking of Jia Yan's subspace talent, they restrained their meager confidence. What you want is nothing more than the white dolphin body, right? We can give it to you. Jia Yan looked at this person coldly, then at Wu Zun, who was silent on the side, and said coldly, "Didn't Your Excellency Wu Zun say that he only has one head, and what I want is the entire body of the white dolphin?" Actually, Wu Zun sold the body of the white dolphin to the two of us. We haven't disposed of it yet, so if you want it, the body of the white dolphin can still be handed over to you in good condition. The speaker was very candid, but the other strong man hesitated to speak, and finally said nothing. Oh. It turns out that the other physical parts of the white dolphin are in the hands of the two of you. So, if you two are willing to hand it over, I, Jia Yan, owe you a favor. In the future, as long as it does not involve my life and death, you can let me. I'll take action once. What do you think? The three senior domain masters all murmured in their hearts, it does not involve your life and death, and it is difficult to endanger our lives. Is your promise useful? This time they did not respond quickly. Instead, the three strong men met their eyes. Especially Wu Zun, who seemed to have been under a lot of pressure. It was not known how long it took before he reluctantly nodded. We have already discussed it, Mr. Jia Yan. Everything will be done as you said. But as you know, we got the white dolphin body at our own expense. Although this matter has nothing to do with you, you lost the white dolphin body. Point, it's your own problem, the loss cannot be fully borne by us. If you are willing to take part of the responsibility, we will be happy to hand over what you want. Jia Yan didn't even think about it this time, he simply nodded and said, okay, you can just mention the price. W. To put it bluntly, Jia Yan is not afraid of their price now. As long as these three people dared to put the entire white dolphin body in front of them, Jia Yan would dare to ignore the high price they quoted and snatch the white dolphin body away in front of them. During the discussion, the three of them probably thought of this and asked if the three parts of the body could be handed over several times separately, but Jia Yan sternly refused. Just kidding, if you pay one at a time, God knows if the money you carry is enough to make their lions open their mouths. Maybe they were worried that Jia Yan would take the opportunity to fight with them again, or maybe they were worried that Jia Yan would remember them from now on. In short, these three senior domain lords, after Jia Yan rejected their proposal, they stopped fighting without saying a word. Perhaps Jia Yan's strength and troublesomeness exceeded the expectations of these three people. Or perhaps the alliance between them is not as strong as imagined. In short, the three of them agreed to many of Jia Yan's requests, and they just wanted him to grab his things and get out of here. Jia Yan also wanted to take it and get out. However, It was a pity that the senior domain master, who had been hesitant to speak, said with a wry smile that the limbs he had obtained had been sent to his area of influence by his ultra-quick response force. Sorry, the average strength of my quick reaction force is stellar mid-level. Recently, our star field has developed some kind of navigation method that increases the travel speed, so I dare to say that the limbs of the white dolphin are now far away from us. Maybe we will set off to chase him immediately, and we will catch him in half a month, but it will be close to my territory at that time, so there is no point in rushing. Another accident?